Chapter 1148. When Shisheng came over, Little White was already surrounded and rolling on the ground. In Shisheng's eyes, it was rolling on the ground. Shisheng chased after it. Little White shrank again and jumped in front of Shisheng. Shisheng subconsciously grabbed it. Little White rubbed against Shisheng's hand in a very friendly manner, acting obedient and docile. Alarm bells rang in Shisheng's head. Damn it! The immortals on the opposite side had already surrounded Shisheng. Seeing Little White's obedient appearance, they began to look at it suspiciously. Master! A soft voice came from the furry thing in Shisheng's hand. Shisheng! You can talk, damn it! Who the hell is your master? Don't call me that. Who are you? One of the immortals stood out, his face full of suspicion and wariness. Why does Tao Tai call you master? Whose child is this? Why haven't I seen it before? It's so cute, I should have seen it before. Because she is my master. Little White continued in a soft voice. Master said that you are all a bunch of trash. I want to eat you all. The immortals. How could Tao Tai recognize a master? It was a ferocious beast. Tao Tai was suppressed under the everlasting mountain behind the Huang Sea precisely because it couldn't be killed. And there was no way to make it recognize a master. It was fine that it ran out, but it actually called a little girl master? What did they miss? Shisheng was also confused by its master's words. Calm down. What's the point of arguing with a beast? Shisheng flipped his left hand, took out a rope, and quickly tied Little White up. Master, right? Let I teach you a good lesson. Little White might have realized that this was different from what it thought and struggled violently. It was round and not easy to catch. Shisheng almost caught it, but fortunately, he tied it into a ball in the end. No matter how Little White struggled, it couldn't break free. Shisheng sneered at it. This rope has been consecrated. You a beast, want to break free? Dream on. At this time, Dianmu also arrived with his men. Seeing the strange scene here, he asked curiously, Where's Tao Tai? Caught. Senior Immortal Dianmu. Hearing Dianmu's voice, everyone came back to their senses and bowed. Dianmu asked again, Where is Tao Tai? One of them pointed at the round ball in Shisheng's hand. Dianmu looked over and saw the fire phoenix embroidered on Shisheng's skirt. Then it was Little White in her hand. Dianmu's expression froze. Exalted Immortal Qili, can you explain what's going on? What? Qili? This little girl in front of him? Everyone looked at each other. What was going on? Shisheng swung Little White around. How would I know what's going on? This thing belongs to Luyan. It's none of my business. This time, everyone was even more dumbfounded. They were not unfamiliar with the name Luyan. He was the scum of the god realm. However, he seemed to have an unspeakable relationship with the immortal emperor. As long as he didn't go too far, the immortal emperor had always turned a blind eye to him. They were also very desperate. We all heard it call you master just now. Why is it related to senior immortal Luyan? Someone asked. Like master, like pet. Haven't you heard of this before? Shisheng rolled his eyes. This exalted immortal Qi Li didn't seem to be easy to get along with. The key was that she looked very young. It was really strange for a child to speak in such an arrogant tone. Yes, she was very bold too. How do you know it's senior immortal Luyan? When Dianmu heard Luyan's name, his eyes flashed. Shisheng's impression of Dianmu was even worse than Luyan's. It was not because he looked down on him, but because of the expression on his face when he heard Luyan's name. Shisheng's tone was even more arrogant when dealing with people who disliked him. I just know. Why should I tell you? Who do you think you are? Exalted Immortal Qili, this is Senior Immortal Dianmu. The person who said this probably thought that Shisheng didn't know Dianmu. Shisheng glanced at him and ignored him. Shisheng threw Little White to the ground and stepped on it. The iron sword moved in front of Little White. You wanted to eat me last time, didn't you? Now you even dare to frame me. You've got guts. I can't kill your retarded master, but can't I kill you? The iron sword stabbed Little White fiercely. Little White couldn't continue to grow bigger, smaller, and prettier. Bah, Little White couldn't dodge. It could only endure. The iron sword stabbed into Little White's body through the gap in the rope. It was very soft, but it didn't pierce through. Shisheng stabbed Little White several times. but there were no wounds on its body. Shi Sheng felt Little White's contempt. This thing's body was like cotton. No matter how much strength you used, it would soften. How do we kill this thing? Shi Sheng asked the group of immortals standing opposite him. We can't kill it, one of the immortals said weakly. If Tao Tai could be killed, would they still need to suppress it? Shi Sheng's mouth twitched. So you have lived for so long, but you haven't even figured out how to kill Tao Tai? What's the point of living? The immortals. This was an ancient ferocious beast. It had lived longer than them. Wasn't it normal that they couldn't kill it? If they couldn't kill it, they couldn't let it go either. Shi Sheng's gaze landed on Dianmu. This fellow should have a grudge against Luyan. Shi Sheng picked up Little White and threw it to Dianmu. Immortal Dianmu, this is your territory. I'll leave it to you to deal with. The immortals. It really wasn't hers. If it really was hers, who would do it? Dianmu caught Little White in a flurry and looked at the rope strangely. It was golden and very soft. He didn't know what material it was made of, but if it could trap Tao Tai, it definitely wasn't an ordinary item. He coughed. Since it's not immortal blazing lees, I misunderstood. Tao Tai will send someone to deal with it. Don't worry. The immortals. That was it. Why did it feel like this plot didn't have any ups and downs at all? Let me introduce everyone. This is the last bloodline of the Phoenix clan, Immortal Blazingly. Dianmu's tone was a little nonchalant. Clearly, he didn't have any fear of this lone clan. Dianmu felt that Shi Sheng was just lucky to have caught Tao Tai. Moreover, with so many people helping him, she might have picked up a bargain. There was no difference between the immortal world and the human world. Some were alone, but most immortals still had backing and families. The immortal emperor didn't seem to value the Phoenix clan, that only had one Phoenix left. Dianmu felt that there was nothing to be afraid of. Immortal supremacy. Dianmu's attitude also affected the others' attitudes. He gave a perfunctory introduction. Of course, there were also people who understood. Whether it was Shi Sheng catching Tao Tai or the matter of the desolate sea, once might be luck, but twice was definitely not luck. These people gave Shi Sheng a friendly attitude. Shi Sheng's attitude was their attitude. After a few words, although he was a little indifferent, he wasn't as sharp as before. #hashtag today's moonlight flower flavored ticket #hashtag moonlight flower. I didn't make it up. It really exists. It really exists. It really exists. #hashtag daily series of monthly votes #hashtag daily series of votes #. Chapter 1149. Jiang Ling arrived late and heard their discussion. He hurriedly found Shi Sheng standing in the corner. Xiaoli, are you okay? Shi Sheng asked curiously. What can happen to me? Dianmu had some conflicts with the Phoenix clan in the past. I was worried that he would make things difficult for you. It's good that you're fine. Jiang Ling was relieved. Shi Sheng. No wonder that idiot didn't like her. So there was a conflict. Jiang Ling was the immortal emperor's favorite person, and was very busy. After meeting Shi Sheng, he was called away by someone else. Shi Sheng couldn't understand why Jiang Ling was so nice to her. In the plot, Jiang Ling belonged to the second male lead. Wait. The body she was using now was supposed to be the female lead's. That wasn't right. Jiang Ling's kindness to the female lead was also inexplicable. Shi Sheng's mind turned several corners and guessed several possibilities. In the end, she felt that the most reliable one was that Jiang Ling knew someone from the Phoenix clan. It was more likely that he knew this body's mother or father. This was a romance novel, so there was a 2/3 chance that he knew the original owner's mother. Melodramatic. Tricks. Life was melodramatic everywhere. If one basin wasn't enough, then another. In the future, she should stay away from the second male lead. This was the female lead's man. She didn't dare to touch him. When the banquet was about to end, Shi Sheng suddenly heard someone shouting that a fight had broken out. Those who were still inside all ran out. Some even used spells to escape. Shi Sheng walked out slowly. When she reached the door, the battle outside had already ended. Lu Yan hugged Little White and looked disdainfully at Dianmu, who was lying on the ground. Dianmu, even if you become a venerable immortal, you're still no match for me. Go back and cultivate. Don't think about how to flatter people all day long. It's embarrassing. Lu Yun, don't be too arrogant. Dianmu jumped up from the ground angrily. That's Tao Tai. Why did you let it out? Lu Yun scratched Little White's fur and sneered. What Tao Tai? This is my pet, Little White. Dianmu, don't make a fool of yourself if your eyes are bad. Little White, didn't I warn you not to run out? Look, these people are waiting to take your life. Little White rolled over unhappily. It was too hungry. The immortals. This person was also someone who spouted nonsense, but they couldn't afford to offend him. Dianmu's sense of justice exploded. So many people are not blind. Lu Yun, you secretly released the Tao Tai. I will report this to the immortal emperor. Lu Yun stuffed Little White into his sleeve. Send my regards to the immortal emperor. Dianmu was so angry that his face and neck turned red. Lu Yun seemed to be preparing to leave, but when he turned his gaze to the door, he saw Shisheng squatting in the corner and eating melon seeds. The corner of his mouth twitched, and in a flash he appeared in front of Shisheng. Little Phoenix, what are you doing here? Shisheng spat out the shell of the sunflower seed and said, To watch the show. Do you want to fight with him again? I came too late and didn't see it. Little Phoenix wants to see? Shisheng felt that Lu Yun was up to something and immediately denied it. I don't want to see it. Little White said you wanted to kill it. I thought you didn't kill him. You even managed to save him. You're really lucky. Even that beast is doing better than me. Someone saved me. Bad review. Shisheng stood up and raised his eyebrows. Why don't you kill him again? I can consider it as getting rid of evil for immortals. Lu Yun covered his cuffs. No need to trouble Little Phoenix. Little White is still young. See you next time, Little Phoenix. Lu Yun's figure disappeared from everyone's sight in the blink of an eye. Dianmu was still immersed in anger when he suddenly felt someone standing beside him. Immortal Dianmu, can you return my rope to me? Dianmu was taller than him, so Shisheng could only raise his head. Dianmu's pent-up anger was vented at once. What rope? I've never seen it before. Is that so? Shisheng smiled ambiguously. Suddenly, he drew his sword and slashed at Dianmu. He roared. How dare you keep ice things? I didn't care about what happened just now, but you still want to take advantage of me. Who gave you the right to do that? You have a grudge against the Phoenix clan, so why are you making fun of I? What did I do to provoke you? Shisheng waved his iron sword wildly. Dianmu had just been hit by Lu Yun and hadn't reacted yet, so he dodged awkwardly. Dianmu jumped a little further away, his eyes full of disgust. Chili, you're offending your superior. Don't think that I won't dare to do anything to you because of your special status. I just want to take back my things. Immortal Dianmu, you're exaggerating. Shisheng's eyes curved. The iron sword fell again. Dianmu didn't have time to speak and could only fight back, but the effect was not obvious. If it was Lu Yun, then it would be fine. After all, no one in the heavenly realm knew how strong he was. Sometimes he was weak, sometimes he was frighteningly strong. But now such a little girl could suppress Dianmu. This was a little terrifying. Dianmu didn't have time to defend himself. He was swept by the sword chi and fell from the sky. Shisheng also jumped down and stepped on his chest. The iron sword cut open his belt and found the rope. Immortal Dianmu, it's just a small thing. Why do you have to be so sneaky? If you really like it, I won't give it to you. At this moment, Dianmu only wanted to kill Shisheng. This detestable little girl actually embarrassed him in front of so many people. This made him feel even worse than being beaten by Lu Yun. After all, he had never defeated Lu Yun before. As they fought, he got used to it. Shisheng put away the rope and looked at Dianmu. He felt that it wasn't enough to vent his anger, so he beat him up again. After beating up Dianmu, Shisheng tugged at his skirt and glanced at the people who were watching the show. Then he dragged the iron sword and left. Host, why didn't you kill Dianmu? The system popped up to ask a question. According to the host's previous style, she would definitely kill him. Shisheng snorted in his heart. Do you think I'm someone who kills people for no reason? Yes. If you're not, then no one in this world is. When it comes to the level of violence, my host isn't SSS or SSS. She's at the level of the universe. Tremble, you fish-lipped mortals. Wait, something doesn't seem right. Erguzi, our love is over. We never loved each other. From the day you called me Erguzi, we were already irreconcilable enemies. So host, why didn't you kill him? Shisheng randomly came up with an excuse. It would dirty my sword. How could the system believe such an obvious excuse? It carefully analyzed the details just now, and didn't find anything worthy of the host's fear. The host had nothing to fear. So why didn't she kill Dianmu? The system was very conflicted. However, Shisheng really didn't think about anything. Women were always fickle. The system couldn't understand. This is a fake group. Little fairy, my waist hurts, my neck hurts, my legs hurt, everywhere hurts. Cherub. What are you up to now? Little fairy. That little demon doesn't love me. Cherub. Which little demon? Little fairy votes. Cherub. Goodbye. Little fairy, don't go. Love me one more time. Chapter 1150. Taoya's incident was quite big, but in the end, it was left unsettled. Lu Yin obtained an official breeding certificate, and from then on, there were 3 bullies in the heavenly realm. Why 3? There was also a new bully, Sheng. Ever since Shisheng beat up Dianmu, there were always people who wanted to secretly cause trouble for her. In the end, they were all beaten back. If the beating was serious, these people would report Shisheng to the Celestial Emperor. Lu Yin was already a headache, and now there was another one. The Celestial Emperor was always in seclusion, and pretended not to be there. She was the last phoenix. How could a lucky mascot be punished so casually? Most importantly, this lucky mascot was a bit awesome. Once, she almost turned his celestial palace upside down. When the female lead was not online, Shisheng could only act like a tyrant in the heavenly realm. He was promoted from a small bully to a big bully. If anyone heard that the blazing immortal monarch was coming, they couldn't wait to find a hole to hide in. That's right. She was promoted from a superior immortal to a celestial monarch. When Shisheng caused trouble, the entire heavenly realm would be in chaos. So in the end, everyone was very self-aware. No matter how sullen they would hold it in. No matter how much hatred they had, they would not provoke this lunatic. The only thing that made Shisheng unhappy was that she didn't grow taller. Not at all. Not at all. How infuriating. Amidst these chaotic days, the female lead, Sama, finally came online. It was a dark and windy night. No, it was a sunny day. When Shisheng was strolling in the heavenly realm, he saw 2 Xianyi bullying a little girl. The little girl looked to be about 15 or 16. She was wearing a Xianyi dress from a certain palace. She was quite cute. When she was bullied, she just endured it and didn't show any signs of exploding. Shisheng didn't want to save her, but Xiaobai suddenly jumped out and made a commotion. When the Xianyi saw her, she ran away with a pale face, leaving the confused little girl behind. Eat. Xiaobai stared at the little girl and drooled. Eat. Shisheng egged Xiaobai on. Will you complain? Shisheng smiled sweetly. Guess. You'll definitely complain. Little White curled up into a ball and rolled around. You're the most heartless woman. Its master didn't allow it to eat the 2-legged ones here, but these 2-legged ones were much more delicious than the ones its master gave it. So hungry. He really wanted to eat it. That food seemed to be more delicious than the others. Thinking of this, Little White began to get restless and rolled towards the young lady. Even if it couldn't eat her, it would be good to satisfy its craving. The little girl looked at the round Little White, and reached out to pick it up. She looked like she liked it. Shisheng's expression could only be described with one word. Horror. No 2 words. If it was anyone else, they would have been eaten by Little White long ago. When the little girl hugged it, not only did it not eat it, it even rubbed against the little girl in a particularly intoxicated manner. Shisheng face-bombed. Lu Yin, your pet is rebelling. Is this your immortal pet? The little girl carried Xiaobai and walked over to Shisheng. She sized up Shisheng curiously with a strange look in her eyes. Shisheng interpreted the information as follows. Why is this little girl wearing black? It's so strange, but she looks really good in it. Wearing such beautiful clothes. She must be the master of some palace. Shisheng was slightly shorter than the female lead. After all, the female lead was 15 or 16, while Shisheng looked 12 or 13. No. Shisheng denied with a straight face. Oh. The little girl was disappointed. Then she asked, "Then do you know who it is?" "I don't know." Then, Shisheng learned that the little girl's name was Yaoqin. Yaoqin was the female lead's name. No matter what avatar the female lead changed, this name would definitely not change. Then, the female lead took Little White away, saying that she was going to find its master. Shisheng waved from behind. "Little White, good luck. When I see Luyan, I'll definitely tell him that you already have a new master." Sure enough, in the evening, Luyan rushed to Southwu Mountain to find her. After so many years, she had already sealed off Southwu Mountain so tightly that even a fly couldn't fly in. Luyan shouted outside for a long time. The parasol tree at the edge couldn't stand the noise and reluctantly sent a message back to the mother tree. The mother tree was the largest parasol tree where Shisheng lived. All the parasol trees on Southwu Mountain were the children of this parasol tree. Shisheng was lying on a rocking chair woven from several branches, swaying back and forth as she read a small book she had collected from somewhere. Lush branches reached in from outside and swept away the book in her hand. A clear child's voice sounded in Shisheng's ears. "Master, that annoying person is here again." Perhaps it was because the parasol tree had been by Shisheng's side all these years of cultivation that it could speak. Shisheng pulled the book back. "So what if he's here? Why are you afraid of him? He's so noisy." The branches moved around on the side, and the two leaves kept opening and closing. It was extremely aggrieved. Shisheng sighed, put down the book and stood up. She walked to the edge of the palace and jumped down. The parasol tree branches below suddenly extended and danced in the air, forming a path that went straight to the edge. Shisheng walked all the way to the edge of the palace. Seeing her come out, Luyan hurriedly flew over. "Little Phoenix, why are you looking for me in the middle of the night?" Shisheng stood inside, and the two of them spoke through an invisible barrier. Luyan didn't beat around the bush and went straight to the point. "Is Little White with you?" Little White hadn't returned yet? Was it detained by the female lead? Or had it really defected? Shisheng said with a serious face, "I killed it." "Oh." Liu Yun's mouth twitched. "If you could kill it, it would have died countless times over the years. Little Phoenix, you must know where it is, right? Someone saw you with it today." "I'm not its nanny. Why would I look after it?" "Little Phoenix, tell me quickly. Where did Little White go?" Luyan was anxious outside. "You've been trying to kill it for so many years, but haven't you? At least it has some revolutionary sentiments." Shisheng touched his chin. "Don't you have telepathy with it?" "I'm anxious because I can't sense it. Otherwise, why would he be so anxious?" "Oh." Shisheng dragged out the word. "Then I guess your Little White is going to defect." Luyan. It had been too long, and Shisheng almost couldn't remember the plot. She dug out the plot once, and it seemed that the female lead really did have a pet. Coincidentally, it was also called Little White. The process of the female lead meeting Little White was a little different. In the plot, Little White was never exposed. When it was wandering in the heavenly realm, it was almost discovered. When it was hiding, it met the female lead, and was then subdued by her as a pet. Shisheng gloated. "Your Little White was carried away by a little girl this afternoon." Carried. Little White only allowed 4 people to carry it. He, Siju Niandong, and this little phoenix in front of him. The others couldn't even touch it, so how could it let others carry it? "Little Phoenix, are you sure? It's up to you to believe it or not. It wasn't her Little White anyway." Monthly votes. Monthly votes. Monthly votes. Chapter 1151. Shisheng didn't know which palace the female lead was from, so the clues he provided to Lu Yun were limited. In order to find Little White, Lu Yun began to wander around the heavenly realm. Shisheng followed behind him. He didn't intend to help, he just wanted to watch the show. "Celestial Lord Lu Yun, Little White really isn't with me." "Celestial Lord Lu Yun, how can you wander around?" "Celestial Lord Lu Yun, did you lose Little White?" I don't have it here. Get out, I'm going to close the palace. Little White is lost. I have to report this to the Celestial Lord. Report to the Celestial Lord. The heavenly realm was in chaos because of Lu Yun. Even the Celestial Lord knew that Little White was lost and ordered Lu Yun to find it within 4 hours. Others helped to find it. Thus, the entire heavenly realm set off a campaign to find Little White. The culprit Lu Yun gained a lot of anti-fans. Shisheng followed behind Lu Yun and ate melon seeds. When others saw him, they all walked around him. If Lu Yun caused such a big commotion, what would happen if this person caused trouble as well? When the female lead used this body, she was directly taken away by Jiang Ling. But now that the female lead wasn't using this body, where could she be? This was really a problem. Shisheng walked and suddenly bumped into Lu Yun's back. Shisheng touched his nose. There's cat biscuits. Why did you suddenly stop? Lu Yun's voice sounded from the front. Little Phoenix. My contract with Little White has been broken. Shisheng. The female lead was awesome. Lu Yun spat out a mouthful of blood without warning. His body went limp and he half knelt on the ground, looking in a certain direction with a pale face. Lu Yun suffered a backlash after his contract was forcefully broken. What's that? Someone behind him exclaimed. Shisheng looked up and saw a beam of light in the distance that shot straight into the sky. A very uncomfortable aura spread from that direction. The male lead is going to come online. Just you wait, you bunch of trash, kneel and lick my feet. No, if the male lead comes online I'll be unlucky. There's nothing to be happy about. Shisheng took out his iron sword and quickly rushed over. At the same time, many immortals in the heavenly realm also flew in the direction of the beam of light. When Shisheng arrived, Jiang Ling was already there with a serious look on his face. Shisheng walked around Jiang Ling. If this guy saw her, there was nothing she could do. Shisheng had never been to this place before, but he had heard from others that this was the everlasting mountain, and that Tao Tai had been suppressed inside before. Other than the Tao Tai, there were many other ferocious beasts and strange things that were suppressed below. Was there something wrong with the brain of the person who suppressed the male lead? Once the male lead appeared, these things would definitely be released. Shisheng found the entrance to the everlasting mountain. This place was built like an underground palace, and every once in a while, one could see a revolving array. There were some strange creatures inside the formation. Most of them were dispirited, but some of them seemed to have sensed something and were very excited as they attacked the formation. Shisheng walked deeper into the restaurant. The further they walked, the more uncomfortable the feeling became. When she reached the glowing area, the first thing she saw was the female lead and Xiao Bai lying on the ground. The source of the light was a circular platform. The light enveloped the platform, and talisman papers were floating around it. In the light, a human figure could be vaguely seen. If this continued, the formation would definitely be broken. Shisheng looked at the formation a few times, took out a talisman paper from the space, and pasted it on it. However, her talisman paper burned as soon as it touched it. Shisheng was slightly surprised, and took out a few more talismans, not believing in evil. The result was the same. Was this the irresistible factor? Because the plot wanted him to come out, no matter what it was, he had to come out. I don't believe it today. Shisheng rolled up his sleeves, threw the iron sword away, and began to take things out of the space. She walked back and forth around the table, and began to draw an array around the table. Kacha! Shisheng glanced at the table and sped up the drawing of the array. The kacha sound in his ears became faster and faster. Shisheng finished the last stroke and injected spiritual energy. The array was unstable for a moment, but fortunately, it only shook a little, and the spiritual energy filled the entire array. The light of the array rose, and in an instant, it blocked the light from the table, sealing it in a semicircular transparent barrier. From afar, it looked like a huge light bulb. The light hit the transparent barrier, trying to break through, but the barrier did not move at all. There was no reaction. The light gradually dimmed, and the figure inside was revealed. It was still the same black robe that Shisheng had seen before, but there was no black fog around it, and the standard handsome face of the male lead was revealed. He was handsome from every angle. He stared at Shisheng, and his voice was cold. It's you. It was because of her that he was here. Now it was because of her that the array that was about to break was restored. It's me. Shisheng's eyes curved. Are you surprised? What do you want? Nothing. Shisheng was too short, and it was tiring to look up at the person on the table, so she sat on the iron sword to be level with Yinmo. I just don't like you, so I want to lock you up. Yinmo's gaze fell on the iron sword that Shisheng was sitting on. This sword, it was as powerful as the Xianyuan sword. Why hadn't he heard of such a powerful sword in this world? Yinmo snorted. You're talking big. Haven't I locked you up already? Shisheng shrugged. Yinmo. Oh. Yao Qin sat up, holding her head. Her eyes were full of confusion. She took the initiative to look at Little White, and when she felt that Little White was still warm, she heaved a sigh of relief. She then realized that the atmosphere was a little strange, and she looked in the direction of Shisheng. Shisheng's black robe left a deep impression on her. She was slightly surprised. It's you. Shisheng swung her legs, and her hands were on the sword. The hem of her robe swayed in the air, drawing a beautiful arc. She looked at Yao Qin with a half-smile. Are you planning to let this man out? Huh. Yao Qin was stunned. Then, she looked at Yinmo sympathetically. He's very pitiful, and he didn't do anything. Why did you lock him up here? He's a demon, and he's at odds with the immortals. Why do you think you locked him up? Yao Qin's expression changed. She looked at Yinmo in disbelief. Demon? How could it be? He's clearly... Shisheng sneered. Otherwise, why do you think those idiots in the immortal realm locked him up here? Is it because he's good-looking? You lied to me. Yao Qin looked at Yinmo hurt. Shisheng was gloating. Because you're stupid. Who else would I lie to? Yinmo probably didn't know that this was his favorite. He might have said something to her before to trick Yao Qin into letting him out. Yinmo remained silent. The female lead was still questioning him like a fine jade. Why did you lie to me? I trusted you so much. Shisheng. Wasn't it just a lie? Why did she make it sound like she wasn't responsible for sleeping with him? Asterisk, this is a fake group. Little fairy. Why don't you guys love me? Why? Why? You guys don't know how much my heart hurts. It's an indescribable pain. Cherub, speak normally. Little fairy, vote. Cherub. Chapter 1152. When Jiangling brought his men in, the first thing he saw was a sobbing Yao Qin, as well as Shisheng, who was sitting on her sword and looking on coldly. He took a step back and ordered the people behind him who hadn't seen the situation inside. Wait outside. No one dared to refute Jiangling's words. Everyone stepped back. At this moment, Lu Yin came from behind and went straight in. Jiangling couldn't stop him for a moment, but when he thought about how often he was with Shisheng, he let it go. Jiangling set up a barrier at the entrance and walked in. Xiaobai, Xiaobai. Lu Yin carried Xiaobai and shook it hard. Xiaobai, wake up. There's food. Food. Xiaobai's body grew bigger. It turned its round body and seemed to be looking around. Where's the food? Everyone. Even Yao Qin stopped crying. Xiaobai was disappointed that it couldn't find food. Master, you lied to me again. Why did you form a contract with someone else? Lu Yun's face darkened. Xiaobai turned around innocently. I don't know, Master. Lu Yun's mouth twitched. This thing was an idiot who only knew how to eat. Someone must have lied to it. So Lu Yun looked at Yao Qin and frowned. She could make Xiaobai break the contract with him. Now wasn't the time to think about this. He had to get Xiaobai back first. Break the contract. Yao Qin looked at Lu Yun in a daze. His aura scared her. She stuttered. What contract? Between you and Xiaobai. What's a contract? Yao Qin asked weakly. Lu Yun. Xiaobai continued to turn in circles in Lu Yun's hand. Master, she's delicious. I took a bite. Lu Yun. So you bit off the contract with one bite? Why didn't he believe it? Yao Qin didn't know what a contract was, so the possibility of her breaking the contract was zero. No, she didn't even know what a contract was. How did she form a contract with Xiaobai? Humph. Yunemo suddenly snorted. Jiangling, you people from the god realm are getting more and more useless. Jiangling's face darkened. Yunemo, don't forget that you were once from the god realm. Yunemo sneered. That was in the past. Jiangling didn't want to talk to Yunemo, so he turned to look at Lu Yun. Let's talk about your matters outside. I need to repair the array formation. Isn't the array formation working fine? Lu Yun glanced at Yunemo. Yunemo. Lu Yun. Jiangling suddenly raised his voice. Yunemo continued to sneer and looked at Lu Yun with an unfriendly gaze. Lu Yun ignored his gaze and touched his head. Hey little phoenix, why did you run so fast just now? I couldn't catch up with you. Shisheng rolled his eyes at him for changing the topic so abruptly. Lu Yun was not embarrassed at all. He walked to the Shisheng and said, Little phoenix, come down. Why are you sitting so high up? You're farsighted, Shisheng answered seriously. Lu Yun. Jiangling couldn't understand the array outside, so he could only look at Shisheng. Lu Yun came in later, and the unfamiliar girl didn't even know about the contract, so the only person who could have set up the array was Shisheng. Little Li, did you set up this array? What else? Is there anyone else who can set it up here? He hadn't offended her recently, so why was she speaking so sarcastically? Little Li, can you break the array? No. Shisheng shrugged. Jiangling. You don't know how to break the array you set up. Shisheng seemed to have guessed what Jiangling was thinking. Who told you that I have to know how to break the array formation I set up? Why did he have to learn how to break an array formation that was used to trap people? If he didn't even know how to break an array formation, then no one else should know. Besides, many arrays didn't have a way to break them. Lu Yun silently gave Shisheng a thumbs up. Jiangling couldn't do anything about Shisheng, so he could only set up a new array formation outside. Including the first one, there were a total of 3 arrays, and a seal in the end. Why are you keeping him? Shisheng asked Jiangling curiously. Although he knew that this was a requirement of the plot, he was still curious about the reason. There had to be a reason, right? Jiangling shook his head. That's what the immortal emperor ordered. I don't know either. Back then, Yunemo had already been brought to the immortal execution platform, but at the critical moment, the immortal emperor suddenly sent someone over and asked him to bring Yunemo to the everlasting mountain. There really wasn't a reason. This was too much. The male lead was so amazing. You're crazy. Little Li, don't be rude. Jiangling just reminded him and didn't mean to blame him. After all, the immortal emperor was used to being scolded by her. Shisheng pursed his lips and stood aside with Lu Yun, egging him on. Kill that little girl later, and the contract will automatically break. Lu Yun was suspicious. Little Phoenix, why do I feel like you're egging me on? Yes. Shisheng nodded. If I don't, who will help me kill the female lead? But my suggestion is very good, isn't it? It's convenient, simple and fast. Lu Yun. Although he felt that something was strange, what she said seemed to make sense. After Jiangling dismissed the people outside, he let Shisheng and Lu Yun go out. They still had something to deal with, so Jiangling brought them to his palace. Yao Qin's face was pale, and she stood in the middle trembling. Shisheng hugged her iron sword and ate melon seeds. Lu Yun played with Little White, ignoring Yao Qin. Jiangling coughed. Which palace are you from? Why are you here? Yao Qin shrunk her neck. Jade Autumn Palace. I don't know why I was there. Yao Qin told Jiangling how she got to the everlasting mountain. It was because Little White suddenly bit her that she lost her footing and fell into the pool outside the Jade Autumn Palace. When she woke up, she found herself there. Since you're an immortal, why don't you know about contracts? Contracts were common knowledge. Yao Qin bit her lip. No one taught me. Then how did you get to the divine realm? Strange. Why can't I see your body? Were you human before? That shouldn't be. If she was human, he should be able to see through her. But why couldn't he see through her at all? Yao Qin continued to shake her head. I don't know. She didn't know anything. Jiangling frowned and decided to deal with Little White first. Little White is an ancient beast. You can't suppress it. I'll teach you how to break the contract now. We'll talk about other things later. All right. Jiangling first explained to Yao Qin what a contract was. After making sure that Yao Qin understood, he taught her how to break the contract. Yao Qin wasn't as stupid as her when it came to learning things. After teaching Jiangling, she learned it very quickly. But when it came to practice, there was a problem. There was no reaction at all. Yao Qin looked at Jiangling nervously. Jiangling spoke after a long while. Lu Yun, ask Little White what kind of contract she has with it. Little White rolled on the table and said crisply, soul contract. Lu Yun immediately became angry. I didn't even have a soul contract with you. Why did you have a soul contract with her? Little White stopped moving. It felt wronged. I don't know, master. Ooh. Chapter 1153. Kill her, 1 corpse 2 lives. That's perfect, Shisheng interjected from the side. Yao Qin's body trembled and she quickly expressed her stance. I can learn. I will definitely break the contract. Shisheng crossed his legs and crunched on the melon seeds. How can a soul contract be broken so easily? If you die, it dies. If you live, it lives. Even a beast can't avoid it. Actually, I still suggest that you kill her and get rid of a big scourge. It's pretty good. The last sentence was directed at Jiangling. Yao Qin looked at Shisheng with a pale face. Her eyes were innocent and her expression was aggrieved. She didn't know how she had offended this little girl. Little Phoenix, don't be so cruel. Xiaobai is the same kind as you. Lu Yun randomly pulled in teammates for Xiaobai again. Who's the same kind as it? Shisheng looked disgusted. Can it fly? Does it have wings? There seemed to be something wrong with this, Lu Yun added. They're both beasts. Beasts my ass. I will kill the female lead now. Shisheng threw away the melon seed shell in his hand and rushed towards Yao Qin with his iron sword. Jiangling quickly stopped Shisheng. Xiaoli, calm down. I can't calm down. Get out of the way. I want to kill the female lead. Jiangling pulled Shisheng to the side. He wanted to persuade Shisheng, but before he could, the girl opposite him spoke first. Jiangling, look, Xiaobai has a contract with her now. If she dies, Xiaobai will definitely die. Xiaobai is a beast. Who knows when it will go berserk and cause irreparable damage? It's better to kill it now. Xiaobai. Wasn't it just hungry and wanted to eat her? It was also hungry and desperate. Did she have to be so vengeful? No matter what, they had dominated the divine world together for so many years. Yet she didn't even care about their past relationship. This woman was too heartless. Oh. Although Jiangling felt that Shisheng's words made sense, he said, this girl is innocent. Shisheng glared. She almost let Yanemo out. How is she innocent? Now, she can be considered to have redeemed herself. Jiangling could not say something like, it's not that she hasn't been released. She will be punished accordingly, but we can't just take her life away. Pedantic. I'll teach you a lesson in the future. Jiangling. If there were no rules in the God realm, then everything would be a mess. Lu Yun hugged Xiaobai and didn't dare to say a word. If it had nothing to do with Xiaobai, he would definitely support Shisheng. He had to report this matter to the Immortal Emperor, and let the Immortal Emperor make a decision. Shisheng and Lu Yun stared at each other. About 3 minutes later, Lu Yun stuffed Little White into his sleeve. Little Phoenix, I still have something to do. I'll take my leave first. He wanted to find someone to break the contract between Little White and that strange woman. The Immortal Emperor did not punish Yao Qin. Instead, he let Jiangling bring Yao Qin to a place. The return trip was very fast. Almost at the same time that Ling brought Yao Qin back, Lu Yun also came back from somewhere. He was in a sorry state and shouted outside Southwu Mountain for a long time. Little Phoenix, come out quickly. What are you doing? Shisheng sat on the parasol tree branch and looked at Lu Yun coldly. It's an emergency. I need a drop of your blood. Bloodletting? Shisheng's mouth twitched. He stood up from the parasol tree branch. Goodbye. We won't see each other again. Little Phoenix, don't go. Lu Yun was jumping anxiously outside. Little Phoenix, just one drop. Just one drop of blood. When Jiang Ling brought Yao Qin over, he happened to see Lu Yun jumping outside while the people inside were impatiently preparing to leave. Little Li, Jiang Ling hurriedly called out. Shisheng turned his head and glanced at Yao Qin. You want my blood too? Jiang Ling looked at Lu Yun in surprise. Seeing his sorry state, he guessed something. Did Lu Yun tell you? Little Li, the immortal emperor said that as long as you give him a drop of blood, he can make a request. Shisheng raised his eyebrows. Any request? As long as it's reasonable. Haha, I'm not giving it to you. He had the final say on how reasonable the request was. When the time came, he would be the one to be cheated. This group of people was very sinister. Little Li, little Phoenix, don't be so heartless. Lu Yun leaned against the transparent barrier and glared at Shisheng. He said shamelessly, you haven't even repaid him for saving your life back then. Just treat it as repaying him. Shisheng's tone was strange. You still dare to mention it? Lu Yun. He hadn't even settled the matter of the immortal death pool with her. Why was she so angry? No matter what these two said, Shisheng would not agree. Immortal supremacy, must I ask for immortal Lord Qi Li's blood? Yao Qin frowned and asked timidly. Jiang Ling nodded seriously. It was not her blood, but the phoenix's blood. But she was the only phoenix in this world, so he had to ask for her blood. A drop of ordinary blood would not cause her any harm or influence. However, she had never been easy to talk to. Jiang Ling had already expected her to be rejected. Immortal supremacy, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Yao Qin cried, feeling wronged. Jiang Ling patted Yao Qin's head and comforted her gently. I'm thinking of a way. Don't be sad. You didn't do much wrong. Lu Yun, what's going on between the two of them? Shisheng moved closer to Lu Yun. Jiang Ling was the second male lead. It was only a matter of time before he fell in love with the female lead. Shisheng was curious when Jiang Ling started to like the female lead. I don't know. He was always worried about Little White. He had no time to care about others. Little Phoenix, give me a drop of blood. What do you want? I'll trade it with you. Shisheng's lips curled into a malicious smile. Trade it with Little White. Lu Yun. Would I have to go through so much trouble to give you Little White? Why do you care so much about a beast? Little White only ate. When it didn't eat, it didn't even want to attack people. What was the point of raising this thing? Even a vase should be good-looking, right? Lu Yun pinched Little White. I raised it for so long. I can't raise it for nothing, right? Shisheng. I don't know how to respond to this reason. Can't let others benefit from it. This reason was shameless and powerful. But this wasn't a reason for I to give it blood. Lu Yun was still rejected mercilessly. I'm a person with principles. If I say no, I won't give it to you. Jiang Ling knew there was no hope, so he left with Yao Qin. One day later, Shisheng found out from Lu Yun that the immortal emperor had asked Lu Yun to give Little White to Yao Qin. You gave it to her? Shisheng asked strangely. Yes. Lu Yun was a little depressed. Shisheng's mouth twitched. Since when did you become so easy to talk to? Lu Yun's expression suddenly turned sarcastic. He's the immortal emperor. How would I dare to disobey him? Shisheng. I don't think a scum like you would listen to the immortal emperor. There's something fishy going on. Look at this. Lu Yun suddenly took out an egg. It was white and a little big. It was oval and emitted a faint white light. Asterisk hashtag begging for Fusang flower votes today hashtag begging for monthly votes hashtag. Chapter 1154. Siju and Niandong's conversation suddenly popped up in Shisheng's head. Hey, be careful. Sir Immortal treasures this egg. You'll be in trouble if you break it. Where did Sir Immortal pick it up? What kind of egg is this? It looks weird. Why is it glowing? What do you mean? When Sir Immortal came back last time, it fell from the sky and hit Sir Immortal. I don't know who threw it. When she couldn't move, Niandong and Siju loved to talk about eggs beside her. She always thought they were talking about her, but later she realized they weren't. According to the description, it looked like this egg. She heard that Lu Yun picked it up too. Shisheng asked, what egg is this? Can it be eaten? Lu Yun fiddled with the egg. I don't know. I've never seen it before. Why don't you try roasting it? The egg. Let me go. Lu Yun did as he said. He picked up some branches outside and started a fire. He threw the egg into the fire. The flames brushed past the egg without leaving a trace. Shisheng reminded him from inside. Your normal fire won't work. Lu Yun felt that Shisheng was right. A small flame appeared on his fingertip, and he threw it into the fire. As soon as the flame touched the egg immediately jumped up. Yes, it jumped up. But in the next second the egg was gone. A black shadow flashed past and landed beside Lu Yun. Little White burped from the side and called out honestly, Master. Lu Yun. Shisheng. Lu Yun grabbed Little White and slapped its head or butt. Spit it out. Spit it out. No, Master doesn't want me anymore. Ooh. Little White cried pitifully. Little White, Little White. Yao Qin's voice came from afar. She ran over from afar. Her face was red. When she saw Lu Yun, her face turned pale. Lu Yun. Sir Immortal Lu Yun. Lu Yun didn't look at Yao Qin. He continued to hit Little White. Little White tried even harder to act pitiful. Yao Qin felt sorry for Little White. She said weakly, Sir Immortal Lu Yun. What did Little White do wrong? It ate his new pet. Shisheng came out and squatted by the side, munching on melon seeds. Why don't you just kill it? It's not your pet anymore. Yao Qin knew that Shisheng didn't like her. These days, she also knew what kind of existence this little girl, who looked younger than her, was in the god realm. Therefore, when Shisheng spoke, Yao Qin didn't dare to answer. Shut up. Little White wasn't as cowardly as Yao Qin. She angrily roared. If you can't do it, I can help you. Shisheng looked at Xiao Bai provocatively. Master, she's bullying me. I'm so hungry. Little White couldn't out-talk Shisheng, so it complained to Lu Yun. Spit out what you just ate. Lu Yun remained unmoved as he pinched Little White with all his might. Little White twisted its body, wanting to break free from Lu Yun's grasp. However, Lu Yun had gained experience from grabbing it. How could it escape so easily? It could only shout, I can't spit it out. It did not want to spit it out. Xiao Bai, what did you eat? Quickly return it to Immortal Lord Lu Yun, Yao Qin hurriedly said. Yao Qin was now Little White's master. Her words were binding on Little White. Little White reluctantly spat out the egg. Little White mischievously spat the egg into the fire. The egg immediately jumped up. The eggshell made cracking sounds and cracks appeared. A small head squeezed through the cracks, and a head poked out. It looked like a snake, but there were 2 horns on its head. The little guy desperately squeezed the cracks and finally got half of its body out. Dragon Shisheng silently looked at Lu Yun. Did this person cheat? How could he randomly pick up a dragon egg? The dragon race had long been unable to give birth to descendants. Therefore, this dragon egg was from a long time ago. It actually hatched now. Little Dragon turned its head and looked around. It looked much more simple and honest than Little White. Little White rolled around under Little Dragon. It probably wanted to eat it. Little Dragon sensed danger and shrank its entire body into the egg. Lu Yun looked at Little Dragon with a strange expression. Little Phoenix, I don't want to raise this. Do you want to raise it? Shisheng shook her head. She didn't want to raise these strange things. Lu Yun grabbed Little Dragon and handed it to Little White. Eat it. Little White was instantly overjoyed. It opened its mouth and was about to swallow Little Dragon. Little White. Yao Qin scolded. Shut up. Little White didn't want to listen to Yao Qin, but its body wouldn't listen to it. It was forced to stop. Yao Qin said in disbelief. Immortal Lord Lu Yun, Immortal Lord Qili, this is a dragon. How can you let Little White eat it? If I don't let it eat it, should I let you eat it? Lu Yun's voice was cold. When I raised Little White, I gave it the best food. A dragon is nothing. Little White, eat it. Shisheng looked at Yao Qin with a faint smile and encouraged Little White. Little White, eat it. Little White, you're not allowed to eat it. Yao Qin was very afraid of the 2 people in front of her, but she still forced herself to shout. Little White was in a difficult position. It really wanted to eat it, but its body wouldn't listen to it. The dragon tasted very good, very fragrant roar. The instinct of a foodie took over its master's order. Little White swallowed Little Dragon in one gulp. Little White. Yao Qin was heartbroken. That was a dragon, a newborn dragon. How could it eat it? Yao Qin went forward to grab Little White. Little White spit it out. Little White hit on Lu Yun. I can't spit it out. Yao Qin didn't believe it. You spit it out just now. Why can't you spit it out? Little White rubbed against Lu Yun. This time it really couldn't spit it out. It didn't swallow it at all, so it could swallow it out. Now that it had swallowed it, how could it swallow it out? Lu Yun threw Little White away and waved at Shisheng. Little Phoenix, I'm going back. Master. Little White gurgled as it followed behind him. Lu Yun's figure flashed and disappeared in front of Little White. Little White panicked and chased after him without thinking. Little White. As its master, Yao Qin naturally chased after it. The immortal emperor somehow found out that Little White had eaten a dragon. The two culprits, Shisheng and Lu Yun, were summoned by the immortal emperor. When Shisheng arrived, he found out that Lu Yun didn't come at all. So why did she come? Shisheng turned around and left. Shaoli. Jiangling happened to be following behind her. When he saw her walking back, he immediately called out. Lu Yun isn't here. I'm not going in. Shisheng continued to walk out. Why should I take the blame alone? Moreover, this blame wasn't mine in the first place. I'm definitely not going to take it. The immortal emperor's voice came from inside. Qi Li, come in. Shisheng scratched his head and turned to enter. The immortal emperor was the only one in the hall. Shisheng straightened his back and entered. He didn't even bow and stared straight at the immortal emperor. The immortal emperor was already used to her arrogant appearance and had no intention of pursuing the matter. I heard from Jiangling that you set up the array formation of the everlasting mountain? Shisheng. Wasn't he asking about the dragon? Asterisk come, those who said that they had new pets. Ha ha ha, come and slap their faces. Chapter 1155. So what if I am? Shisheng didn't understand what the immortal emperor meant and raised his eyebrows. The immortal emperor pondered for a moment. There's something I want you to do. Shisheng quickly added. Murder or arson? My appearance fee is very expensive. Can you afford it? The immortal emperor. Jiangling coughed and answered for the immortal emperor. Little Li, this matter concerns the three realms. It's not the time to joke. Concerns the three realms? Shisheng's eyes turned. The demons are coming out? Jiangling. Seeing that neither of them spoke, Shisheng guessed that he had guessed correctly. Anyway, in the Xianxia novels, the demons were the mortal enemies of the divine race. If it concerned the three realms, it must have something to do with the demons. However, the demons didn't seem to come out so early in the plot. She had trapped the male lead and didn't do anything crazy. Why did the demons come out so early? Jiangling softened his tone. Little Li, don't worry. The seal is a little loose and needs to be strengthened. The array you set up last time was very special, so I want you to come along. As long as you agree to this, I won't argue with you about the dragon, the immortal emperor said. Be reasonable. Shisheng immediately exploded. That dragon was brought by Lu Yun. Little White's master is Yao Qin. The dragon was given to Little White by Lu Yun. What does it have to do with me? I'm just here to watch the show. It has nothing to do with me, okay? The immortal emperor. I thought they were friends. What's with this betrayal? Although the immortal emperor felt that something was wrong, he couldn't refute it. He could only look at Jiangling. Jiangling had interacted with her all these years. Even if he didn't fully understand her temperament, he knew her well. Shisheng impatiently refused Jiangling's advice. The demons were going to come out and cause trouble anyway. It didn't matter if they came out sooner or later. Wasn't there a saying that said, the sooner you die, the sooner you'll be reincarnated? The immortal emperor didn't dare to make a big deal about the loosening of the demon's seal. He asked Jiangling to take people to investigate under the pretext of patrolling. Immortal Jiangling, is everyone here? Immortal Dianmu stood in front and asked Jiangling. Jiangling looked in a certain direction. Little Li isn't here yet. What is she going to do? The conflict between Dianmu and Shisheng began at that banquet. After that, he was punished by the Shisheng several times, so he disliked the Shisheng even more. We're going there for business, not for fun. Senior Immortal Dianmu, I know that you are prejudiced against Little Li, but Little Li went there under the order of the Immortal Emperor. I hope that Senior Immortal Dianmu will pay attention to your identity and not let others laugh at you. Dianmu was a little embarrassed by Jiangling's words. After a while he said, the time has passed. How can she make so many of us wait? Shisheng arrived late, and Lu Yun was with her. Upon seeing Lu Yun, Jiangling had a bad premonition. He felt that this trip was a little risky. Lu Yun's identity was special, so he couldn't chase him away. Do you really think you're some big shot? You made so many of us wait for you. Dianmu couldn't help but mock. Shisheng's small body walked past Dianmu. Her light voice sounded. Then you still have to wait. Dianmu. She always made people speechless with one sentence. Dianmu, it's fine if you can't beat me after so many years, but you can't even beat Little Phoenix. Tiathasi. Lu Yun shook his head and walked past Dianmu. Dianmu's anger, which had been provoked by Shisheng, instantly rose to the top of his head when Lu Yun provoked him. However, she had already gone over. Dianmu would lose his dignity if he continued to shout. He could only suppress his anger. Jiangling. These two people were always together when it came to scolding others. Their future was bleak. They had prepared a ship for this trip, the kind that could fly. The ship was full of heavenly soldiers. As a patrol, they naturally had to put on an act. Shisheng was arranged to be on the second floor, and Lu Yun was beside her. The two of them went upstairs one after another. When Shisheng pushed the door open, she glanced sideways at Lu Yun. What are you doing here? Lu Yun asked. What is Little Phoenix doing here? To watch a show. The female lead was here. How could she not watch a show? If she was in a good mood, she could also do an appropriate deed to save the demons. What kind of deed is this? Host, please watch the show quietly. Don't cause trouble, okay? Lu Yun used Shisheng's words. I'm also here to watch the show. The two of them looked at each other for 3 seconds, then pushed the door open at the same time and entered the room. The patrol couldn't be too fast, so the ship was very slow. Sometimes it would even stop midway. Shisheng was bored in the room, so she prepared to go out and watch the female lead. She looked around the ship and found Yao Qin in a remote place. Yao Qin brought Little White out. Little White was rolling on the ground. Yao Qin seemed to want to take it away, but Little White was unwilling and refused to let her touch it. Yao Qin squatted on the ground. Little White, what's wrong with you? Little White rolled twice. It had no eyes and no nose, so she didn't know what it meant. Little White, stop fooling around. We're outside. Can you go back to the room with me first? Yao Qin coaxed Little White, but it didn't work. Little White was unwilling to talk to her. Yao Qin, what's wrong? Jiangling came from behind. Yao Qin was shocked. She quickly stood up and bowed. Master Immortal. Jiangling helped Yao Qin up. His tone was as gentle as usual. Why are you squatting here? Yao Qin pointed at Little White who was rolling around. I don't know what's wrong with Little White. Jiangling squatted down to study it for a while. Little White ignored him and kept rolling around. Jiangling had no choice but to suggest. Lu Yun is on the ship. I'll ask him to take a look. After all, Lu Yun had raised Little White for so many years. He should know what happened to it. Yao Qin bit her lip. Will it be too troublesome for Master Lu Yun? Little White used to belong to Master Lu Yun. She had formed a contract with Little White for no reason. Now she had to ask Master Lu Yun to take a look. Yao Qin was a little scared, but she didn't know what she was afraid of. Jiangling rubbed Yao Qin's head. Lu Yun won't let anything happen to Little White. Wait here. Jiangling walked toward Shisheng. When he turned the corner, he saw Shisheng. Jiangling was surprised. Little Li, why are you here? Looking at the scenery. Shisheng lied without batting an eyelid. Jiangling looked around at his surroundings, which were completely blocked off. What scenery was there to see? Jiangling didn't think too much about it. She had always been in this state. Something seems wrong with Little White. I'll ask Lu Yin to take a look. Shisheng didn't say anything. He just looked in front of him with an indifferent expression. Jiangling sighed. He walked around her and went upstairs. Yao Qin heard some noise, but she didn't dare to be alone with Shisheng. She had a feeling that the little girl wanted to kill her at any time. So when Shisheng didn't come over, she pretended not to hear anything. She squatted beside Little White and talked to it. Asking for votes. Chapter 1156. Lu Yin and Jiangling quickly came down. Lu Yin glanced at Shisheng. Shisheng shrugged innocently. She didn't do anything. She was just here to watch the show. Lu Yin retracted her gaze and walked towards Yao Qin. Lord Lu Yin. Yao Qin bowed timidly. I don't know what's wrong with Little White. It's been like this ever since it boarded the ship. It's hungry. Lu Yin concluded with just one look. When did you feed it? Yao Qin blushed and stammered. I didn't feed it. It doesn't eat anything I feed it. When they were below, Little White could find its own food. However, it wasn't that easy to find food on the ship. It was normal for Little White to be hungry. As a foodie, it was quite pitiful to be hungry. Lu Yin poked Little White twice and got up as if it had nothing to do with her. Just find something to feed it. Feed what? What did Little White want to eat? It didn't eat anything she fed it. Humans, beasts. Lu Yin muttered. That's all. He fed the beasts. After all, it was easy for the two-legged beasts in the heavenly realm to go missing. However, sometimes Little White would sneak out. Whether it ate or not, he didn't know. Huh. Yao Qin was confused. How can it eat these things? It's an ancient beast. Do you think it's your little white rabbit? Shisheng couldn't help but interrupt. Does this female lead Darren know what an ancient vicious beast is? Have you ever seen a ferocious beast that is a vegetarian? If a race was born with such attributes, what could it do? The only mistake was that it shouldn't have been born. Since it was born, it had to live. Yao Qin's face turned red. In the plot, Little White often went missing. The female lead never fed it. She guessed that ancient beasts didn't need to eat. Ancient beasts wouldn't die if they didn't eat. However, Little White was a foodie. If it didn't eat, it wouldn't want to move. If it was hungry, something big would happen. Lord Immortal Jiangling? What should she do? Yao Qin didn't know what to do. She had never raised an ancient beast before. How would she know these things? She could only ask Jiangling for help. There were no beasts on the ship. She couldn't give it to the heavenly soldiers to feed it, right? Jiangling had no choice but to order his men to stop the ship and capture the demonic beasts. When Dianmu heard about this, he rushed over angrily. Lu Yin, you can't even take good care of your things. Now you're delaying everyone's schedule. Little White is not mine now. Lu Yin had a melancholic look on his face. Dianmu, the next time you look for trouble, you must get to the bottom of it. Don't let everyone laugh at you. Everyone in the God realm knew that Little White had formed a contract with a little girl of unknown origin. The Immortal Emperor had even asked that little girl to take care of it. Senior Immortal Dianmu, I'm sorry. It's my fault. Yao Qin immediately apologized. I knew something would happen when the two of you came up. Can you see now, Senior Immortal Ling? Dianmu ignored Yao Qin. He was obviously looking for trouble with Lu Yin. Well, he was also attacking Shisheng. Shisheng. I'm getting shot even when I'm lying down, so angry. Shisheng was standing next to Dianmu. Suddenly he lifted his foot and kicked him down the railing. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. He attacked at the slightest disagreement. After being kicked down, Dianmu only reacted after falling for a distance. He quickly stabilized his body and flew back. The anger that he had suppressed previously erupted like a volcano as he directly attacked Shisheng. Shisheng stood on the boat, and Dianmu was in the air. Some of his attacks landed on the boat, causing the entire boat to shake. Shisheng dodged Dianmu's attack, and coldness seeped out from between his brows. You can't beat me. Why are you courting death? Dianmu's response to Shisheng was an attack. Hey, this brat was just so stupid. Shisheng took out his iron sword and slashed in Dianmu's direction. His movements were too casual and relaxed, as if he was a layman waving a weapon. It clearly didn't seem to have any strength, but the air was inexplicably tense, making it difficult for people to breathe. The air was split by the sword chi, and a large amount of spiritual chi spread to both sides, forming a substantial airwave. The people on both sides retreated, and some even couldn't help but kneel on the ground. Dianmu regretted it when he felt the terrifying power, but there was no turning back now. Dianmu used all his strength to block Shisheng's attack. His spiritual chi collided with the sword chi, and there seemed to be beautiful sparks flying in front of his eyes. His internal organs were instantly displaced, and his mouth was filled with the sweet taste of blood. Heaven and earth seemed to stop for a moment. In the next second, all the sounds came. The hull of the boat was affected by the airwave, and it deviated from its original course. Many things on the boat were blown away and broken into pieces. The girl stood in the middle of the storm, motionless. Even her hair didn't flutter. She seemed to be still. The others were thrown around, and they grabbed onto the things on the boat to prevent themselves from falling. The airwave wasn't very powerful, but the wind was especially strong, and it would disturb the spiritual chi in their bodies. They could only rely on their own strength to stabilize their bodies. Dianmu hadn't fallen, but his body was in a mess. His hair was messy, and he looked like a madman. Dianmu gritted his teeth and roared in a hoarse voice. "You're just relying on your sword. Qili, do you think your sword is invincible?" Every time she used that sword, it was the power of that sword. It was not her strength at all. Shisheng stabbed the iron sword into the ground and raised his chin, looking slightly arrogant. "My sword is naturally invincible. Even if I don't use my sword, you may not be able to defeat me." Shameless boasting. Let's fight if you have the ability. Without his sword, he was confident that he could defeat her. Shisheng rolled his eyes. "No," Dianmu pressed. "Why? Are you afraid?" Shisheng snorted. "You don't admit that you're stupid. Since I have such a powerful weapon, why would I fight you with my bare hands? You have cat biscuits, but I don't." He wasn't an idealist who pursued his own strength. He didn't care about the method. As long as he was strong enough, it was enough. "Dianmu, are you done?" Jiang Ling scolded in a deep voice. "Dianmu, do you still remember our purpose this time? She was the one who first." "Dianmu, have you forgotten what I told you before we came up?" Jiang Ling interrupted Dianmu. He knew that these two were going to cause trouble, but he didn't expect it to come true so quickly. Dianmu knew that he couldn't beat her, but he still wanted to be beaten. Dianmu also lost his temper. "Supreme Immortal Jiangling, you're biased. She attacked first. Why are you blaming me? If you didn't speak rudely, would Little Phoenix have attacked? Dianmu, really, don't embarrass yourself." Lu Yun condensed a mirror in the air with her spiritual power, and Dianmu's image was reflected in it. "Look at you now. I feel embarrassed for you." Dianmu's face turned green and white. He hated Shisheng and Lu Yun so much that his teeth itched. Chapter 1157. Because of the fight between Dianmu and Shisheng, the boat was affected and damaged. They could also fly on the clouds, but that was the procedure for patrolling. If they changed the rules rashly, people would notice the loosening of the seal and spread the news, which would cause unpredictable chaos. Therefore, even if the boat was damaged, they could only repair it and continue to travel. Dianmu was locked up in a room by Jiang Ling. This was a bloody case caused by Little White. The culprit, Little White, did not react at all. After eating and drinking, it disappeared. Apart from this incident, nothing else happened. They arrived at their final destination safely. A somewhat dilapidated city surrounded by a dense forest. This city was surrounded by a dense forest. This was no longer the realm of the gods. It was at the border between the realm of the gods and the human realm. There were all kinds of demons and ghosts. It was commonly known as the No Man's Land. They had to enter the city and enter the place where the demons were sealed through a secret passage in the city. Shisheng was speechless. "So why did you set the seal here?" Jiang Ling explained to Shisheng. "There was no city here at first. It only appeared later. If the realm of the gods used force to expel these things, it would raise suspicions. There was a saying that the most dangerous place was the safest place. Therefore, this city was allowed to develop. Jiang Ling ordered his men to stop the boat at a remote place and instructed the people around him. After we get down, everyone must hide your identity. The rest of you, return the way you came. Don't let anyone notice that there are fewer people on the boat. Understand? Yes, Master Immortal. Jiang Ling ordered his men. Shi Sheng and Lu Yin were already standing at the edge of the boat. Jiang Ling was about to call them when Lu Yin suddenly jumped down. Shi Sheng stood still. Then Lu Yin returned. Little Phoenix, didn't we agree to jump together? You believed me when I lied to you. Little Phoenix, you're no fun. It's fun to play with you. Jiang Ling. These two people were really carefree. He hurried over. Little Lu Yin, it's dangerous down there. You better not do anything rash. Keep a low profile. Do you understand? Shi Sheng did not care. He pointed his chin at Yao Qin. Take care of that one. Everything will be fine. Jiang Ling followed Shi Sheng's gaze and said helplessly, Shaoli, can you stop targeting Yao Qin? No. Shi Sheng snorted and said in an unfriendly tone, our horoscopes are incompatible. She had always been incompatible with the male and female leads. As a stepmother, she had to have the awareness of a stepmother. Shi Sheng turned around and leaped. He turned into a black dot in Jiang Ling's eyes and gradually disappeared. Jiang Ling was startled and hurriedly ordered his men to leave. Shi Sheng stood in front of the city wall that was covered with strange vines. He tilted his head and looked at it for a while, but he couldn't figure out what the name on the city gate was. Even a dog would be easier to recognize. Which lousy hand would write that? Haven't you heard of the art of decoration? Bad review. She casually grabbed a young man who was passing by and fiercely pointed at the city gate. What do those 3 words read? Who the hell are you? The young man was dissatisfied and wanted to brush his Shi Sheng away. Don't you have eyes? Can't you see for yourself? Shi Sheng used some strength and flipped him to the ground. The passers-by were used to this and there wasn't even a bystander. Shi Sheng lowered his head and looked at the young man who was stunned. If I knew, would I still ask you? A furry tail suddenly appeared behind the young man's buttocks. His skinny and dark face showed a trace of fear and he trembled slightly. Devil Town. The young man wanted to shout back, but he couldn't. Where did this child come from? How could her aura be so terrifying? It was too scary. Shi Sheng felt that he might have learned some fake words. The 3 words Devil Town added up to 38 strokes, but it was doubtful that there were more than 10 strokes on the city gate. Shi Sheng let go of the young man and patted the wrinkled area that he was grabbing like a boss. He then revealed a sinister smile. Lead the way. The young man felt that the surrounding temperature seemed to have dropped. Miss Gu, is this your first time here? Is it that hard to guess? Shi Sheng's voice was very calm, but there was a noble and dignified aura of a superior. It's not hard to guess, not hard to guess. The young man rolled his eyes and surrendered to Shi Sheng's abuse of power. He instantly became a lackey. Miss, can you let me get up first? How can I lead the way when you're like this? The rule of survival in Devil Town was to run if you couldn't win. If you couldn't win, then you had to admit defeat. If you couldn't admit defeat, then you had to wait for death. Shi Sheng calmly moved his foot away. The young man got up from the ground and patted the dust off. It seems like you don't know much about Devil Town. Why else would I want you? Shi Sheng looked askance at the young man. The young man was embarrassed. He pressed his tail back down. Miss, why do you want to enter Devil Town? I've been here since I was young. I know everything in the town. Shi Sheng thought for a moment and asked, is there a boss here? Miss, which boss are you referring to? Shi Sheng raised his eyebrows. How many bosses are there? Devil Town has everything. Naturally, there are different forces. However, there are 3 major factions here. Everyone joins different factions. The bosses of these 3 factions can be considered as the people with authority in Devil Town. The young man explained to Shi Sheng. The young man was talking enthusiastically when Jiang Ling chased after them with his men. Shaoli. They were just 1 step behind. How did she get to talk to people? The young man suddenly saw a large group of people and was a little confused. Miss, there are so many of you? The young man couldn't tell what they were, so he addressed them as humans. Shisheng glanced at them. Lu Yin had disappeared. Ignore them. Shisheng turned around expressionlessly. Continue. Jiang Ling didn't know much about Devil Town. Shisheng ignored him, so he didn't dare to say anything more. He was afraid that it would arouse suspicion. The things here, how should he put it? He didn't have a good impression of the Protoss. If they knew that they were Protoss, they would definitely gang up and attack them. When the young man saw that Jiang Ling had retreated to the back and didn't say anything, he looked at Shisheng with an even more strange gaze. This young lady was powerful. That man looked like he was always giving orders, but he actually bowed down to a young lady. This young lady either had a noble status, or was especially powerful. Some old monsters like to appear in front of others in the form of children, so they couldn't underestimate children. Who knew if she was an old monster? With this thought in mind, the young man became even more obsequious. The 3 factions in Devil Town are actually divided into strong and weak factions. Black Boss is the strongest, followed by Scorpion, and finally Shark Snake. The young man paused and lowered his voice. Actually, Shark Snake's faction is stronger than the other 2 factions. It's just that they've been keeping a low profile in recent years. Why? A sudden voice interrupted the young man. The young man looked back and his gaze landed on the only girl. Jiang Ling hurriedly stood forward and blocked Yao Qin. He didn't know why this young man was so obsequious to Shisheng, but he could sense that this young man wasn't weak. Chapter 1158. The young man was a wily old fox. He retracted his gaze and did not answer Yao Qin's question, waiting for Shisheng to ask. He was the one who made the decision. Yao Qin was just curious, so she asked subconsciously. After asking, she remembered that Jiang Ling had told her not to speak carelessly. Yao Qin looked at the tall figure in front of her, and her heartbeat accelerated slightly. Shisheng did not even look back. He continued to walk forward. The city gate was right in front of them. The young man immediately said, "Miss, we need to be checked before we enter the city." Shisheng looked sideways. The young man understood the situation and explained, "It's to prevent any Protoss from sneaking in. Miss, you don't have to worry. Just walk through there." The young man pointed to a special passage under the city gate. The young man's words made the people behind them nervous. They had never entered Devil Town before. Who knew that they would need to be checked? "Miss." Shisheng had already started walking in that direction. He walked straight through the passage. The people guarding there did not react. They just watched her and the young man go in. Jiang Ling was speechless. Jiang Ling was not as bold as Shisheng. He stopped outside. The young man looked back. "Miss, why aren't they coming in?" Shisheng answered casually, "They must be crazy." The young man was speechless. Were they really in cahoots? Forget it. It was none of his business. As long as the scary girl in front of him did not flip out. Jiang Ling and his men observed outside the city for a long time. The people guarding the city began to suspect them. Only then did Jiang Ling think of a way to sneak into the city. The inside of the city was much more chaotic than what they saw outside. Most of the people in the city appeared in human form, but there were also some weirdos who walked on the streets in their true forms. Yao Qin was shocked when she first saw them. She almost aroused suspicion. Fortunately, they had a large number of people. The people around them only looked at them, and did not have any intention of coming forward. They had been outside the city for a few days. He had no idea where Shisheng had gone or what he had done. Devil Town was so big. It was undoubtedly like looking for a needle in a haystack. This is what you get for bringing her here," Dianmu said sarcastically. Jiang Ling ignored Dianmu and ordered the others. "Everyone split up and search. Be careful. We will meet at the restaurant in front." Xiao Ling brought Yao Qin to the restaurant first. The atmosphere inside the restaurant was foul. As soon as they entered, the people in the hall looked at them unscrupulously. "Unfamiliar face, go and ask him where he's from." One of the people at one of the tables ordered the subordinate standing next to him. The subordinate who was being commanded immediately stepped forward. "Hey you guys, where did you come from?" Pulling Ling Jiang and Yao Qin behind him, He retracted his gentle face and brought out the aura of a war god. Black Fog Forest. The little brother's expression changed. He took a few steps back and shouted, "Boss, they're from the Black Fog Forest." The man who was called Boss stood up. He was holding a jar of wine in his hand. Before he even got close, he could smell the stench of blood and blood. From the Black Mist Forest? The boss put the wine jar on the counter with a bang. The shopkeeper behind him was so scared that he shrank to the ground. The boss asked fiercely, "Then you must be capable. What are you doing here?" The Black Fog Forest was full of demonic beasts. It was said that there were even ancient demonic beasts living there. As long as the word ancient was added, it was enough to scare people. "Who do you think you are? What does it have to do with you what I'm doing here?" Dianmu was the first to get angry. He was a venerable immortal. How could he be scared by these demons? The boss glanced at Dianmu. Suddenly, he raised his hand and slapped Dianmu. He said angrily, "Did I ask you a question?" He attacked suddenly. Dianmu, who had been vigilant, grabbed the boss's hand. The atmosphere suddenly became tense. The people who were scattered all around started to surround them. "What? You want to fight? Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Dianmu was a little conceited. In addition to the anger he suffered at the Shisheng, he was worried that he couldn't find a place to vent. The boss quickly attacked Dianmu. "Go." Everything happened too quickly. It was too late for Ling Jiang to stop them. Since they couldn't avoid it, they could only fight. The restaurant's hall fell in the blink of an eye. Yao Qin was accidentally attacked by someone. There was a cut on her neck. Blood flowed out, but it wasn't the smell of blood. Instead, it was a fragrance. This fragrance was like a catalyst. The group of people who attacked them suddenly rushed toward Yao Qin as if they had gone crazy. The people who were watching the show outside also seemed to be attracted. They started to rush into the restaurant. Their eyes were full of burning madness. It was as if Yao Qin was some kind of delicious food. They couldn't wait to tear her apart and eat her. Seeing that the situation was not right, Ling Jiang immediately called for the others. Retreat. Ling Jiang and the others were chased all over the city. No matter where they went, there were new creatures joining the chase. It was extremely strange. When they ran into an alley, they were attacked from both sides. There was no way to escape. "What the hell is going on?" Dianmu shouted at Yao Qin in exasperation. Yao Qin didn't know what was going on. She blushed. I don't know." The boss from before ran in front. He stared at Yao Qin with a burning gaze. He licked his dry lips. "Catch her." The underlings beside the boss had just rushed a few steps when a few corpses suddenly fell from the courtyard beside them. Bang! Bang! The corpses fell in front of them, blocking their way. In the next second, more corpses fell. Some of the corpses turned into their original forms when they fell. All kinds of strange animals lay on the ground. Their huge bodies blocked the way. Boom! The wall beside them collapsed, revealing the scene inside. The courtyard was full of corpses. The smell of blood rushed to their noses. There were many people standing in the middle of the courtyard. They were discussing something intensely. In the middle of this group of people, there was a little girl. She looked at the corpses indifferently. "It's Chili." When the boss and the others in the alley saw the person inside, it was as if they had been splashed with a bucket of cold water. Their expressions were ugly. "Let's go." The boss regained his rationality. This little girl had only been in the city for a few days, and had already killed the scorpion. Now it seemed that she was dealing with the shark snake. Anyone who went against her would die miserably in the end. "Miss, it's the black boss." When the people inside saw the boss, they immediately shouted, "Should we stop them?" The black boss. Which bastard had such sharp eyes? Shisheng raised his head slightly and saw Jiangling. His gaze was complicated, as if he was in disbelief. It was just like the first time they met. If the black boss ran now, it would seem a little degrading. Hence, he turned around and pretended to be calm. "Miss Chili, we don't have to interfere with each other's business. You don't have to kill me, right?" This little girl killed people without blinking. He had seen her once a few days ago. She had left a deep impression on him. Shisheng's eyes curved. His voice was clear. "I like to kill people. If I don't kill them, They'll rise again when the spring breeze blows? I'm not a retard like the main character. The black boss knew the rules of the Devil Town better than anyone else. Whoever had the bigger fist had the right to speak. Asterisk hashtag today's mallow-flavored ticket hashtag let's vote on the weekend hashtag there's a new activity in the book review section. If you have nothing to do, you can comment hashtag normal group number 4512444066. Chapter 1159. Jiang Ling's expression became even more complicated as he watched Shi Sheng take care of the gang leader and the others with violence. Little White jumped out of nowhere and looked at the corpses on the ground. It ate happily. Although this woman was annoying, there was delicious food to eat by following her. It reluctantly forgave her for bullying it. It was a generous beast. Oh, well, this doesn't taste good. It has a strong taste. This one is delicious. This one is delicious too. Oh. What is this taste? Little White suddenly stopped eating and rolled on the ground. Then it rolled straight towards Yao Qin. Miss Chili, do you smell something delicious? The young man sniffed the air with an intoxicated look on his face. The people behind him had the same expression. Shi Sheng only smelled blood and nothing else. But these little fairies couldn't lie, so Shi Sheng looked in Yao Qin's direction. Little White had already jumped onto Yao Qin. For some reason, Yao Qin threw Little White down. Perhaps it was because Little White's table manners were too unsightly, scaring the pure white lotus that had grown out of the mud. Little White couldn't bite its master. It rolled on the ground anxiously. Yao Qin shrank behind Jiang Ling. Little White couldn't jump up. It rolled back to Shi Sheng's feet and hit Shi Sheng's feet with its body. I want to eat her. 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 Little White kept expressing its desire. The little fairies behind it also expressed their desire. Shi Sheng kicked Little White away and threatened. It's none of my business if you want to eat her. Don't show up in front of me again. I'll kill you. Little White rolled on the ground. You can't kill me. I want to eat her. I want to eat her. Shi Sheng slashed the iron sword in his hand at Little White. Little White dodged and landed on a corpse in the distance. It jumped twice and reluctantly began to eat the corpse. A woman's heart was like a needle at the bottom of the sea. It was too scary. Woo woo woo, it missed its master. Shi Sheng rolled his eyes and ordered the young man, go and clean up the place. The young man swallowed and bowed to Shi Sheng's abuse. He endured his hunger and thirst and went to clean up the courtyard. As soon as the fairies left, Dianmu began to make things difficult for him. Chili, you actually colluded with them? Shi Sheng laughed sinisterly. That's right. If you yell at I again, I will make you stay here forever. Shi Sheng did not intend to occupy the land and become the king. However, there were always people who were blind and wanted to criticize her and do unspeakable things to her. She was still a baby. How could she tolerate such a filthy thing? She had to be killed. Since he had already gotten rid of one and had nothing to do, he might as well get rid of the second one. The third one was delivered to his doorstep. It would be a waste not to get it. I what? Shi Sheng sneered and raised his eyebrows. His tone was extremely arrogant. If it weren't for me, you would have been eaten by them. Hurry up and thank them. Dianmu. Arrogant and conceited. Even if she didn't come, they would still have a way to escape. Who asked her to meddle in other people's business? Jiang Ling stopped the furious Dianmu and said softly, Shaoli, don't mess around. We're here to repair the array. That's your business. What does it have to do with me? Shi Sheng paused. I never promised you that I would help. I'm just here to watch the show. Jiang Ling choked and said in a low voice, Shaoli, didn't we agree before? Shi Sheng snorted. That's just a one-sided agreement. Did I agree to it? Jiang Ling was rendered speechless. Indeed, she had never personally agreed to help repair the array formation. The little girl stood on the ground one step higher. Her small body was as tall and straight as a mountain. No one dared to look down on her or blaspheme her. The iron sword in her hand shone with a cold light. Her eyes looked even colder. This was the first time Jiang Ling looked at her eyes so carefully. In the past, every time he met her eyes, he would look away in less than a second. However, All he saw from her eyes was indifference. Boundless indifference. To be more precise, it was indifference. She was indifferent to everyone and everything. She didn't care about anything. From the first time they met, he had noticed it. However, he was unwilling to admit that a newborn child could have such eyes. Shisheng turned and left. Jiangling wanted to call out to her, but his voice couldn't rush out of his throat. Seeing that Shisheng had left, Xiaobai swallowed the corpse on the ground in a few mouthfuls and rolled over to follow Shisheng. At night, Devil Town was even more eerie. The wails of ghosts and howls of wolves were incessant. Shisheng was lying in a clean courtyard. Xiaobai was rolling around beside her, his soft voice sounding like he was chanting, "So hungry, so hungry, so hungry. Little Phoenix." A black figure jumped in from outside the courtyard. She didn't need to look to know who it was. Xiaobai heard its former master's voice and immediately ran over. "Master, master, master." Lu Yan kicked Xiaobai away in disdain and walked out of the shadows. She sat across from Shisheng without hesitation. "Little Phoenix, you're living such a comfortable life." It hadn't been long since they last met, but she had already become the boss of Devil Town. "Why are you looking for me?" She didn't visit without a reason. She definitely had something to ask of him. Cough cough. "I do have something to ask of you." Lu Yan paused. "Little Phoenix won't reject me, right?" Shisheng glanced at Lu Yan and opened his mouth. "I refuse." "Hey, don't be like this. Little Phoenix, girls should be soft-hearted. You can't be so heartless." If you want to be soft-hearted, go find the female lead." She was soft-hearted. Her heart was as soft as cotton. "You deserve it. I am heartless and unreasonable. If you're unhappy, hold it in. Little Phoenix." Lu Yan held her breath and used her ultimate move. "I'm begging you." Shisheng looked at Lu Yan strangely. She didn't beg him the last time he wanted her to bleed. This time she was begging him. "Damn it. What is it? Tell me." "You agreed?" Lu Yan was proud. He knew she was amenable to coaxing but not coercion. "No. Who knows what you want me to do? Listen to the matter first before making a decision." This was the normal way of thinking. He couldn't agree just because you begged. That was retarded behavior. Lu Yan coughed. "It's actually a small matter. It's very easy for you." "I won't bleed." Lu Yan's mouth twitched. "Isn't this over? Why does Little Phoenix still remember?" Shisheng looked at Xiaobai, who was acting cute at his feet, and silently shed tears of sympathy. No wonder this guy didn't fight with the female lead for Xiaobai in the plot. He didn't care at all. If the pet was gone, he could just change to another one. This awareness is good. I'll give him full marks. I'm not afraid of him being arrogant. This is a fake group. Xiaobai. Why do I have such a master? I'm so powerful, but my master wants to change pets. Little fairy. Other than eating, how are you powerful? You're a disgrace to the beast race. Xiaobai, I can even eat dragons. Isn't that powerful? Little fairy, that's still eating. There's nothing to show off. Xiaobai, it's a blessing to be able to eat. Little fairy, I'm speechless. Chapter 1160. Lu Yan wanted Shisheng's help to find someone. It was easy for Shisheng to find someone. Now that the entire Devil Town was in a state of panic, she was the most powerful one. The disorganized teams needed to be reorganized, and she was undoubtedly the best choice. Therefore, whether they were afraid of her strength or wanted to please her, most of the creatures in Devil Town were happy to help her find someone. But Lu Yan, this idiot, only provided a gender and a birthmark. He didn't mention her race or name. He only knew that she was female. More importantly, the birthmark was in an indescribable position. Did he have to ask the girls to take off their clothes on the streets? He would be beaten to death by the female yakshas, okay? Little Phoenix, Devil Town is too big. I can't find everyone by myself. Help me this once. Lu Yan lowered his posture. When he was asking for help, he had to act like he was asking for help. Why are you looking for her? Why did he have to look for her now? Lu Yan chuckled. Little Phoenix, it's a private matter. You probably aren't interested in this. Shisheng raised his eyebrows and made a wild guess. Lover from your previous life? He was looking for a girl. Wasn't she his lover from his previous life? Combined with Liu Yun's lost soul and spirit, I can imagine a million emotions of love and hatred. Pfft. Liu Yun's face was full of disgust. Little Phoenix, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. Shisheng. Love is hard to say. Liu Yun slammed the table. Little Phoenix, just say it. Are you going to help me or not? Shisheng glanced at him lightly and called the young man over, asking him to bring people to Devil Town to look for the girl. Liu Yun heaved a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that she would reject him. She was probably in a good mood now. After all, she would only agree to his request when she was in a good mood. In a bad mood? Hee, I'm already being merciful by not cutting you to death. As Shisheng expected, Liu Yun had provided too few clues and it was difficult to find. The few girls that the young man found were all rejected by Liu Yun. Miss, these are the last few female girls with birthmarks. The young man reported to Shisheng, who was leaning against the wall without a care for his image. The girls looked around curiously. She was the most famous person in Devil Town recently. When they saw the little girl sitting at the top, they couldn't believe their eyes. So small. Just like that, the three forces that had been entrenched in Devil Town for many years were wiped out. Shisheng was munching on melon seeds with a lazy expression on his face. Let that idiot take a look. The young man retreated and summoned Liu Yun. The moment Liu Yun entered, the girls blushed. Some of them even began to throw flirtatious glances at him. The air was filled with strong hormones. Liu Yun quickly walked past the girls and shook his head. No. Shisheng waved his hand and motioned for the young man to take him away. This is all I can do for you. Little Phoenix. Liu Yun's handsome face fell. If she didn't help, how long would he have to search? Shisheng had an unfathomable expression on his face. Fate hasn't arrived yet. When it does, you two will naturally meet. Liu Yun. It was obvious that he was spouting nonsense. Young master, I might know who you're looking for. A girl who was walking to the door suddenly turned around and shouted at Liu Yun. Liu Yun and Shisheng looked at the girl at the same time. The girl immediately straightened her chest and said proudly, I know someone else who has such a birthmark. Who is it? Liu Yun scurried over. The girl's face turned red. Two furry ears suddenly popped out from the top of her head. She fidgeted and said shyly, Young master, if I tell you, can you touch me? Liu Yun. Shisheng held back his laughter and asked, Where do you want to touch? The girl's face turned even redder. The ears on top of her head trembled. Ears. She wanted this handsome young master to touch her tail, but she scared him. Therefore, she decided to touch her ears. Liu Yun gritted his teeth and agreed. Okay. The girl beamed. Miss Linlang has such a birthmark. She lives in the pleasure house in the north of the city. In the end, Liu Yun was forced to touch the girl's ears several times. The girl's expression made Shisheng think that he was watching some unspeakable plot. The girl's face was full of happiness. She was sent away by the young man in a daze. Liu Yun immediately went to the pleasure house to look for Miss Linlang. Linlang? She just left with a young master in white. Sigh, that young master is really good-looking. We've never seen such a good-looking person in Devil Town. Young master, why are you looking for Linlang? We can serve you too. We guarantee that you'll be so happy that you'll forget about home. Sisters, don't you think so? That's right, young master. Come in and have fun with us. The pleasure house, as its name suggested, sought pleasure and entertainment. Liu Yun was surrounded by a group of gorgeously dressed girls. They tried their best to drag him into the pleasure house. Little Phoenix. Liu Yun called out to Shisheng, who was watching the show from behind. However, Shisheng only watched the show. He had no intention of saving him. He even took a few steps back. It was obvious that he didn't care. Liu Yun was exhausted. He had been careless in making friends. Bah, this little Phoenix didn't treat him as a friend at all. Liu Yun could only save himself. It wasn't easy for him to escape from the group of girls. He immediately jumped in front of Shisheng. Little Phoenix, you're too unkind. You left me in the lurch. Shi Sheng's expression didn't change. Men like women. I thought you liked it. I'm not an ordinary man. Oh. Shi Sheng dragged his words. Could it be that you're gay and like men? Gay. He didn't understand. But he understood the words like men. He was a man with a normal sexual orientation. How could he like men? Lu Yun was furious. Little Phoenix, don't take my tolerance for you as a reason to be willful. When I get angry, even I'm afraid of myself. Shi Sheng's face was full of understanding. You're angry because I hit the nail on the head? Don't worry, I won't tell anyone that you're gay. Lu Yun was speechless. What's with that expression? No, who's angry because of embarrassment? This is the reaction of a normal person, okay? Lu Yun gritted his teeth. Little Phoenix, do you know? When you speak, you're really asking for a beating. I know. Shi Sheng was slightly proud. His tone rose full of arrogance. I like it when you want to kill me but can't. Lu Yun was speechless. Wasn't that his line? Ever since Little Phoenix came, his position as the scum of the heavenly realm was almost gone. He felt so stifled. He'd seen people fight for credit, but he'd never seen people fight to be the scum. He just wanted to quietly be the scum. Asterisk, this is a fake group. System owner. We need one more person. Do you want to come? Xu Fei come. System. What the hell is Xu Fei? Go away, let me talk to the owner. Police squad deep. In. 2. Student squad. How deep? Shi Sheng, it's bottomless. Cherub. Your Highness Sheng should know this very well. After all, my CI is so good. Feng CI. Shy system owner. I just want to find someone to play mahjong with. Why are you guys speeding? I don't have a driver's license yet. I'll go first. System. Chapter 1161. Lin Lang and a white-robed man left. Lu Yun guessed that it was Jiang Ling. After all, the girls had said that they had never seen the white-robed man before. Jiang Ling was the only handsome white-robed man in the city recently. There was only one reason for Jiang Ling and Lin Lang to take them away, the seal. Therefore, Lu Yun ignored Shi Sheng's opinion. All right, he didn't ask at all. He dragged her in a certain direction. Do you know where the seal is? Shi Sheng walked into the dark tunnel and asked the person in front of him. Nonsense back then. Lu Yun liked to stop at the beginning and change the topic stiffly. Little Phoenix, are you afraid? It's so dark here. Shi Sheng sneered back at him. Not cute at all. Lu Yun muttered in front. I'm cute. Master, I'm cute. Little White's voice sounded from the darkness. When it finished speaking, it had already jumped in front of Lu Yun. Shi Sheng and Lu Yun didn't notice when this fellow followed them. You have nothing to do with me now. Lu Yun's tone was clearly a little angry. He hadn't even made a soul contract with Little White, yet it had casually made a soul contract with a stranger. Just thinking about it made his stomach hurt. Lu Yun and Little White chattered in front. Shi Sheng's thoughts ran wild behind him. Lu Yun being able to trigger a side mission was enough to prove that his identity was special. It was normal for him to know something that others didn't. Be careful. These things took many lives back then. If you touch them, you'll definitely die. Got it. A soft conversation came from ahead. After passing through an arched door, their vision immediately widened. Their current location was actually halfway up the mountain. Outside was a valley with lush green trees and flowers adorning it. This was like another world. Who is it? A shout came from below. Dianmu, long time no see. Lu Yun stood above and looked down. What are you doing? There was only one way down from the mountainside. At this moment, Jiang Ling and the others were on that path. All of them walked cautiously, afraid of touching the blooming flowers beside them. Shi Sheng was one step behind. When she went out, Dianmu and Lu Yun had already started a war of words. It's easy for you to talk while standing. Come down if you dare. So be it. I'm not afraid of you. Lu Yun stepped on the path down at a very fast speed. An unfamiliar girl in the team reminded Lu Yun softly, be careful. Those things are poisonous. Even if you have a divine body, you will still be poisoned. Lu Yun did not slow down and quickly rushed in front of Dianmu. How is it? Dianmu, if you can't do it, don't think that everyone can't? Dianmu was so angry that his entire body trembled. He reached out and pushed Lu Yun, throwing him into the sea of flowers beside him. The unfamiliar girl was shocked and reached out to tug at Lu Yun. Unexpectedly, Lu Yun suddenly pulled her back and looked at her with a burning gaze. Are you Lin Lang? The girl was a little puzzled. Yes. Yes. Humph, you made it difficult for me to find you. Lu Yun's words were a little baffling. Lin Lang did not understand. Immortal monarch, does Lin Lang know you? Lin Lang was puzzled. Lu Yun sneered. I don't know him. Lu Yun let go of her, steadied himself, and shouted up. Little Phoenix, are you done standing up there looking at the scenery? Why are you still not coming down? Lin Lang's heart skipped a beat. It was as if the man who spoke to her just now was an illusion. Shisheng slowly came down from above. She walked even more arrogantly than Lu Yun. Her skirt swept across the flowers and pressed down on a group of flowers. Lin Lang wanted to remind Shisheng. Little Phoenix is immune to all poisons. Lu Yun answered on behalf of Shisheng. His voice was still cold and there was a hint of hostility in his eyes when he looked at Lin Lang. How could this little bit of poison cause any harm to the bloodline of an ancient race? Lin Lang wisely shut up and retreated to Jiangling's side. Immortal monarch, what grudge did I have with this immortal monarch in the past? Jiangling glanced at Lu Yun and shook his head. I don't know either. Is it too late for me to quit now? Miss Lin Lang, we need to reach the location of the seal. If the seal is not repaired, the people will be plunged into misery and suffering. You don't want to be a sinner of the three realms, right? Lin Lang sighed. Forget it, this is my mission. But I'll have to trouble you to tell that immortal monarch not to cause trouble for me. Jiangling couldn't guarantee that he really didn't know what grudge Lu Yun had with this person. However, with Lu Yun and Shisheng together, oh no, there was also Little White. With these three together, it definitely wouldn't be peaceful. Lin Lang stopped talking. Only then did Lu Yun look at Dianmu, who had just lifted her. Dianmu's scalp went numb from her gaze. You lost your balance. Lu Yun gave a fake smile. Then you have to be careful and watch the road. Dianmu. A threat, a blatant threat. Shisheng and Lu Yun walked behind. Little White was eating the flowers and plants that were said to be highly poisonous. Seeing how happy it was eating, it probably wouldn't be poisoned. The group in front walked carefully, while the three behind walked very casually. It was fine if it was the phoenix. After all, its bloodline was impressive. But what right did Lu Yun have? Of course, the people in front didn't have time to dwell on this problem. They had a lot of problems in front of them. After entering this place, all their powers could not be used. Spiritual power was in their bodies, but they couldn't use it. Therefore, they needed to rely on their own strength to cross the valley, climb over a mountain, and flow through a river that wasn't considered wide but was so cold that they wanted to die. Then, how do we get past this? Facing the raging fire in front of him, Dianmu was on the verge of breaking down. Lin Lang's expression was a little strange. There shouldn't be any fire here. What? Dianmu raised his voice. You mean there was no fire here in the past? But now there is? Lin Lang nodded. From what I know, this should be a plain. The location of the seal is in the middle of the plain. I don't know if there was fire in the past. Jiangling asked calmly. The temperature of these fires is very high. You don't know how to get past them? Lin Lang shook her head. How would she know something that had never existed before? After sealing the demons back then, the gods naturally wouldn't just leave them be. Instead, they left behind a guardian. Lin Lang's ancestors were the guardians. It was passed down from generation to generation, until it reached Lin Lang. Lin Lang had never been here before. What she knew was passed down by her ancestors. It was normal if there were any mistakes. Lin Lang tried her best to recall those memories. She shook her head. There was no memory of fire. Jiangling thought for a moment and guessed. It's very likely that it was caused by the loosening of the seal. We have to think of a way to get past it. We can't use our powers now. Although we have immortal bodies, it's inevitable that we'll be burned. Isn't she a phoenix? Let her bring us over. Dianmu pointed at Shisheng. The flames of a phoenix's nirvana were the hottest flames in the world. This bit of flame was a piece of cake for her. Chapter 1162. Shisheng. Why is it me again? I've already lowered my presence, okay? Jiangling didn't answer. He just looked at Shisheng. Although he didn't say anything, it was equivalent to a silent question. Shisheng took a step back and blocked his chest with his hands. No way. There's no window. These idiots want to ride me? Dream on. Dianmu finally found a proper reason. If he didn't retort now, when would he? Qili, do you want to be a sinner of the 3 realms? I want to. What can you do? I can even be a sinner of the 6 realms, let alone the sinner of the 3 realms. Dianmu. There's no way to chat if you talk like this. Jiangling, are you still talking at a time like this? Dianmu couldn't win the argument and directly dragged Jiangling down. Think of another way. You. Dianmu was probably laughing out of anger. He pointed at Shisheng and Jiangling. Good. You're still protecting her at a time like this. If anything happens, I'll see how you explain it. Dianmu, you're so noisy. Lu Yin picked his ear. When Dianmu glared at him, he suddenly kicked him. Dianmu subconsciously wanted to use his spiritual power to defend. When he realized that he couldn't use his spiritual power, Lu Yin had already kicked him. Dianmu's body was forced to slide back a distance. Whoosh! When the flames touched his clothes, the fire burned in the blink of an eye. The fire was too fast. When everyone reacted, Dianmu's entire body was enveloped in flames. Jiangling and the others finally extinguished the fire on Dianmu's body. Dianmu was burned black, leaving only a pair of eyes. The raging anger was like the flames burning behind him. Lu Yin stood at the side and gloated. I told you to watch your feet. Linlang silently took a step back. This man was so scary. Lu Yin glanced at her and snorted coldly. Jiangling stopped Dianmu from causing trouble for Lu Yin. Because the flames blocked the way, the group could only rest here for the time being and think of a solution. Yaoqin and Jiangling stayed together and looked timidly at Shisheng and Lu Yin. Celestial supremacy, why is Qili immortal unwilling to take us over? Jiangling did not know how to answer this question. He had never known what she was thinking. Didn't you tell me that with great power comes great responsibility? Yaoqin put on the appearance of a good student. Qili, immortal monarch, is so powerful. Why does she always get to do whatever she wants? Jiangling. Because she was amazing. Even the immortal emperor couldn't do anything to her, so who would dare to ask her to bear any responsibility? Immortal venerable, why aren't you saying anything? Jiangling. What do you want me to say? He had nothing to say. There was also night here. The flames were even more unbridled in the dark night. Every cluster of flames seemed to have a life of its own. They had no sound, but they could not be ignored. Shisheng walked over from the edge. The flames seemed to be afraid of her, and the flames immediately weakened. Shisheng stretched out his hand, and the flame continued to wither. Amazing! As expected of the female lead's avatar. While Shisheng was having fun, he suddenly heard a scream behind him. Shisheng turned around and saw that it was a mess. There were black shadows flying around them, disrupting their formation. Shisheng saw Dianmu standing at the edge. Her eyes darkened, and she moved toward him. Coincidentally, Dianmu was separated from the main group by the black shadows. Shisheng drew his iron sword and slashed the black shadow. The black shadow dissipated in the air, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Dianmu panted. Qili, don't think that I will be grateful to you just because you saved me. There's no need for that. Shisheng's lips curved. Because I'm here to send you to your death. Dianmu's eyes widened. A cold light entered his eyes along with the dancing flames beside him. A terrifying power poured down from the top of his head. All the light in his eyes was extinguished in an instant. Darkness. Silence. Death. Shisheng turned his head slightly and looked at the shocked Linlang. 3 seconds later, he calmly threw Dianmu's corpse into the flames beside him. The flames rose high and covered the corpse. Linlang retreated with a pale face. What kind of person did she meet? Linlang couldn't help but retreat. She bumped into something and felt a chill on her back. Her delicate shoulders were held by someone, and a cold breath climbed up her neck. You didn't see anything just now. She killed. Lin Lang couldn't say a complete sentence. You didn't see anything, the voice behind repeated. Lin Lang was about to cry. I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything. Hearing this, the person behind her let go of her and walked past her to Shisheng. He said with dissatisfaction, Little Phoenix, why did you kill him in front of others? Lin Lang felt a chill all over her body. She didn't know how she had offended him. He could talk to her in such an intimate tone, but when he turned to look at her, it was as if he had turned into a demon. Who knew that she would suddenly come over? Shisheng didn't mind and smiled evilly. Why don't we kill them together? Lu Yin touched his chin. Little Phoenix's suggestion is good. Shisheng thought that Lu Yin would refuse. Who knew that he would agree directly? There was something wrong with the plot. Could it be that Lin Lang really wasn't Lu Yin's lover in her previous life? Lin Lang felt that these two people were too dangerous, so she turned around and ran. Who knew that she would bump into a black shadow behind her? Lin Lang was lifted into the air by the black shadow and fell straight down. Lu Yin watched the entire time without any intention of saving her. In the end, Ling even stepped in to save her. Hey, don't tell me you two are in love with each other. Did she lie to you in your previous life? Did she lie to you about your body and your heart? When you realized that you had been cheated, did you already fall in love with her? Shisheng poked Lu Yin. He couldn't stop his imagination from running wild. Bah, who's in love with her? Lu Yin looked disgusted. Little Phoenix, why are you like Siju? Why do you keep thinking about these strange things? Shisheng, this is a normal routine. What's strange about it? Moreover, your behavior is very strange to begin with. If it's an enemy, why don't you just go up and kill him? Lu Yin was a little unconventional. Shisheng had a hard time imagining things. He needed to fill in the blanks. She took out a handful of melon seeds and asked the person beside her, Do you want some melon seeds? Lu Yin spread his hands. Thus, the two of them squatted at the edge of the fire and ate melon seeds while watching the people being attacked by the black shadows. Ling and the others were on the verge of breaking down. They were fighting with their lives on the line, but the two of them were squatting together and eating melon seeds. Can't they show some love to their own kind? Do these black shadows think that they are easy to bully? Why are they surrounding them and not attacking those two? ## seeking Protoss psychological trauma ## you guys are in charge of fighting. I'm in charge of watching the show ## little fairy seeking monthly votes #. Chapter 1163. The black shadows were not as numerous as the gods. In the end, they retreated in defeat and hid in the darkness in the distance. What was that? A god asked with lingering fear. He helped Ling Bao Yoken up from the ground and said in a hoarse and dark voice, Devil. The surroundings immediately fell silent and looked at each other. After a while, a miserable god raised his hand and asked, Aren't the devils sealed? Why are they outside? Could it be that the seal has already? Impossible. If the seal was broken, the three realms wouldn't be so peaceful. Did any of you see Immortal Supremacy Dianmu? This voice pulled everyone back from their thoughts. Everyone quickly looked around, and did not see Dianmu. He was still here. Why is he gone? Could he have been captured by those things? They did not have any spiritual power now and their strength was weakened. If they had not outnumbered those things, it would have been impossible for them to win. Lin Lang glanced at Shisheng and Lu Yin. The two of them were still eating melon seeds, and did not seem to care about the situation here. What should she say? Or should she not say? Thinking of Lu Yin's terrifying appearance, Lin Lang decided to pretend that she did not see him. She could not even save her own life, so how could she have the time to care about others? Ancestors, please protect me. Everyone looked around but could not find Dianmu. In the end, they could only conclude that Dianmu had been captured by those things. Therefore they now had another mission, to find Dianmu. Shisheng and Lu Yin did not mention anything about watching from the sidelines. These two people could be completely ignored. No matter what they did, They should not consider her and the others. Immortal supremacy. We can't delay any longer. That's right. Immortal supremacy Dianmu has disappeared. If we continue to stay here, who knows what will happen? We have to think of a way to enter. They were here to repair the array formation. Before they came, they were already prepared to die. After pondering for a while, Ling Chen summoned his genuine Xianyuan sword. Shi Sheng's eyes lit up. Sensing Shi Sheng's gaze, Lu Yan asked curiously, Little Phoenix likes this sword? Xianyuan sword. An ancient divine artifact. Lu Yan nodded. It's quite powerful. Shi Sheng took out his iron sword and urged the iron sword. Sword, kill it and you'll be the real one. Tai Jian. He didn't really want to. It just wanted to be a pirated version in peace. Lu Yan. He seemed to remember that this sword of hers was also called the Xianyuan sword. Moreover, its power didn't seem to be any weaker than the Xianyuan sword. However, he had experienced many vicissitudes of life, and had never seen such an ordinary iron sword. Little Phoenix, what is the origin of your sword? Guess. Lu Yan. If I could guess it, would I need to ask you? Why is it also called Xianyuan sword? Shi Sheng rolled his eyes. It was originally called the Xianyuan sword. Shi Sheng continued to instigate the iron sword to get rid of the original Xianyuan sword, and let it take its place. However, the iron sword was obviously unwilling. Let's not talk about the things it did in the past. Now, it actually wanted to act so arrogantly against the real deal. Host, has your brain been damaged by the system? Pretentious Sheng came online. How can you not be arrogant in life? Iron sword. You're the master. You can do it. I'm not going anyway. Shi Sheng. You want to go against me now? Iron sword. Go 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 now. Anyway, I've already chopped houses, dug soil, and smashed eggs. It's no big deal to fight a sword again. Before the iron sword moved, the original Xianyuan sword had already waved the flames away, revealing a passage big enough for people to pass through. Iron sword. It looked at Shi Sheng. Shi Sheng didn't look at it. He stared into the depths of the flames with a serious expression, as if he wasn't the one who had instigated it just now. Iron sword silently retracted. Since the master didn't notice it, it would do it next time. Jiang Ling had already led people through the passage. He didn't call Shi Sheng and Lu Yan. He was probably completely disappointed in Shi Sheng. Lu Yan followed first. Shi Sheng didn't think that he was doing it not for the seal, but for Lin Lang. As for his motive, Shi Sheng really couldn't tell. Jiang Ling used the Xianyuan sword to open a path in front. The further they went, the more difficult it became for Jiang Ling. The Xianyuan sword didn't recognize a master? Shi Sheng asked Lu Yan in surprise. Recognized a master? Lu Yan seemed to have heard a funny joke. How can such an ancient divine weapon recognize a master? As long as it had the word ancient, it was a very impressive existence. Unless it was a mighty figure who had existed since ancient times, it was impossible for others to subdue it. Jiang Ling was only keeping the Xianyuan sword. Perhaps after a long time, he could reluctantly use the Xianyuan sword. Iron sword buzzed twice. Master, now you know how good I am, right? For an impressive existence like me, those stupid mortals don't even have the right to be recognized as my master. It didn't recognize a master. No wonder Jiang Ling couldn't beat the male lead back then. Whoosh, the flames swept past them. The passage had already shrunk to the point that only one person could pass through. It was the kind that required one's entire body to be stretched into a line. Ah! Following this scream, Lu Yan suddenly dodged to the side and pulled Shi Sheng along with him. Lin Lang was knocked to the ground. The hem of her clothes caught on fire, and the flames immediately spread up her clothes. Lu Yan pulled Shi Sheng back. Little Phoenix, are you all right? Shi Sheng. You don't care about Lin Lang? I'm really angry. Even if she was an enemy, he should go up and give her a few kicks, right? But he just watched coldly from the side, as if she was an insignificant stranger. What should he do with this idiot who didn't follow the rules? Should he beat her up? The person in front of Lin Lang quickly turned around and extinguished the fire on her body. Miss Lin Lang, are you all right? Lin Lang was a little frightened, but her body wasn't injured. She shook her head slightly. I'm sorry, are you alright? Yao Qin's voice came from the front. She was protected in Jiangling's arms. It was probably because of her that Linlang was knocked down. I'm fine, Linlang replied. She glanced at Lu Yun and shrank her body in fear. She avoided the flames around her, and turned to continue walking forward. After walking for a while, Linlang suddenly said, The seal is in front. Shisheng didn't know how Linlang could tell, but the surrounding environment was indeed a little different from other places. Hearing that they were about to arrive, no one dared to relax. They became more and more nervous. Whoosh! The temperature of the flames seemed to have increased. Even with their immortal bodies, they could feel the scorching heat. It was as if a hole was being burned through their skin. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this moment, Jiangling was probably at his limit. The Xianyuan sword that he swung out didn't open up a new passage. The flames closed up again like a tide. ## begging for votes from the stars and flowers today. ## begging for monthly vote series. ## don't ask me why I'm stuck. Because a little fairy who isn't stuck isn't a good fairy. #. Chapter 1164. The flames were closing in too quickly. They could only watch as the flames covered the sky and covered the earth. They were like ferocious monsters with their mouths wide open, ready to swallow them whole. Many people's eyes were filled with fear. They were gods, but they were also afraid of death. Even if they had said before that they would repair the seal even if they died, no one would not be afraid when they were truly faced with it. Just as everyone was waiting for death in fear, the flames suddenly retreated, and even the temperature dropped significantly. A straight path appeared in front of everyone. They could even vaguely see the array that was previously covered by the flames. Everyone. The iron sword flew over their heads and deliberately paused in front of the Xianyuan sword. The Xianyuan sword ignored it at first, but a few seconds later it was angered. The golden sword trembled and pushed Jiangling away. It flew towards the iron sword. Clang! The two swords collided. Sparks flew everywhere. The flames withered and waves of air surged. In the blink of an eye, the two swords disappeared from everyone's sight. The sound disappeared. Other than the path that had been opened, nothing was left. After a long while, Jiangling looked at Shisheng. Shaoli, what's going on? Shisheng crossed his arms and stood behind him like a gangster. He smirked. How would I know what's going on? They just want to learn from each other. What can you do about it? Jiangling. He was not the owner of the Xianyuan sword and could not communicate with it. Naturally, he could not summon it back unless the Xianyuan sword was willing to come back. But Jiangling's expression turned serious. Shaoli, this is not a place to fool around. Hurry up and summon your sword back. Shisheng lied through his teeth. It doesn't listen to me. How can I summon it back? When it's done playing, it will naturally come back. You should worry about the array in front of us. Done playing? She actually described such a serious matter as playing. Jiangling's heart surged with anger. But when he looked at that face, he could not vent it. He took a few deep breaths and looked up at the sky. He quickly ordered, repair the array first. The others did not have any objections. The most important thing now was to repair the array. But Linlang did not want to go forward. Celestial Supreme, I've already brought you here. Can I go back now? She felt that if she continued to walk forward, she might encounter danger. Most importantly, she did not know how she had offended immortal Lord Lu Yun. He was very terrifying. Miss Linlang, there are things outside that we encountered before. It's safer for you to stay with us. That's right, Miss Linlang. We can't spare anyone to send you back. Before Jiangling could speak, the others had already tried to persuade him. Although she knew that it would be dangerous to repair the array formation with them, it was also dangerous to let her leave alone. They were both in danger, so why didn't they stay with them? Perhaps the destruction of the formation was not that serious. Miss Linlang, they are right. Jiangling walked in front of Linlang. Although there is a certain amount of danger with us, it is more dangerous for you to leave alone. Linlang's cultivation level was average, otherwise, she wouldn't have needed someone to save her yesterday. Linlang weighed the pros and cons. And under the persuasion of these people, she finally decided to stay. She might not be able to walk out alone. Jiangling protected Yaoqin and continued to walk forward. Linlang was protected in the middle by the others, while Shisheng and Lu Yun were still at the back. When they arrived at the array formation, Shisheng finally saw the full appearance of the array formation. Countless talisman papers and thick iron chains formed a pentagonal pattern on the ground, and in the center was a black well. Black fog kept coming out of the well, and was eroding the array formation. Some of the chains had already broken, and many of the talisman papers had been burned. If this continued, the array formation would soon be broken. How can this be? Everyone could not believe that the array formation had been so badly damaged. Immortal Lord, this is not good. Immortal Lord Dianmu is missing. With our strength, isn't it a bit difficult to repair it? Isn't there still Immortal Lord Lu Yun? The person who said this spoke in a very soft voice. Would that scum Immortal Lord Lu Yun help? Jiangling glanced at Shisheng and said in a low voice, "Check the extent of the damage." "Yes." "Little Yao, stay here with Linlang." Yaoqin nodded obediently. "Be careful, Immortal Lord." "Little Phoenix, do you feel that something is watching us?" Lu Yun mimicked Shisheng and squatted beside her. Shisheng was still a child, so it did not affect her squatting. However, Lu Yun was a man. It was a little strange for him to squat without caring about his image. So what if I feel it? So what if I don't feel it? Shisheng glanced at him and asked indifferently. Lu Yun did not listen to Shisheng at all and continued. "You feel it too, right? These things must be demons. I don't know how they came out. Little Phoenix, why don't we try to lure them out?" "No. Why would they go looking for death? There was cat biscuits. You go there, I'll go here." Lu Yun pointed in two directions, and had already divided the route. F***CK. Why don't you listen to me? I refuse. Do you know how to refuse? Idiot. Shisheng silently moved to the side. Don't stay with an idiot. I'll be infected easily. Lu Yun noticed that Shisheng's movements were completely different from what he said. Little Phoenix, what are you doing? Shisheng looked disgusted. He did not want to talk to idiots. He was afraid that he would be infected. Lu Yun was speechless. What kind of look was that? Lu Yun suddenly became excited again. Little Phoenix, look. Shisheng had already seen that there were black figures approaching the array formation from the flames in the distance. They lingered in the flames and did not come out. They moved very quickly. If Shisheng and Lu Yun had not squatted at the edge and watched the show, they probably would not have noticed them. They're not afraid of fire, Lu Yun muttered. What are they planning to do? A sneak attack? Idiots. Shisheng rolled his eyes, got up and quickly retreated. Seeing Shisheng run away, Lu Yun shouted at the top of his voice. Hey little Phoenix, why are you running? If you don't run, are you going to wait for them to invite you to a day trip to hell? Shisheng's voice came from afar. Lu Yun scratched his head. Yes, I should run now. After all, I don't know what the enemy is. Lu Yun also ran with Shisheng. His voice was very loud. Everyone on the other side of the array formation heard him. Naturally, they also noticed the black figures that were faintly discernible in the flames and were surrounding them. Shisheng and Lu Yun ran too fast. At this moment, they had almost disappeared into the tunnel that had been opened that day. Master Immortal, the flames are closing. Someone pointed at the tunnel. Everyone looked in that direction at the same time. The tunnel that was wide enough for 5 or 6 people to hold hands and straighten had shrunk by half. Moreover, it was still shrinking. Monthly votes. Monthly votes. Monthly votes. Sob. Monthly votes. Chapter 1165. Shisheng ran out of the fiery area and panted with his hands on his knees. By the time Lu Yun came out, she had already returned to normal. She was in a pretentious posture, looking coldly at the closing passage. Her gaze was calm, and the dancing flames in her eyes gave off a strange coldness instead of a blazing heat. Lu Yun panted and began to complain. Little Phoenix, you're too disloyal. You didn't even wait for me. Shisheng glanced at him and suddenly threatened. If you continue to talk nonsense, I'll throw you back. Lu Yin covered his mouth with both hands and took a few steps back. Suddenly, something bumped into him from behind, and his body fell forward uncontrollably. Shi Sheng was in front of him, and Shi Sheng turned his feet and easily dodged to the side. Lu Yin fell from her side and fell to the ground. Lu Yin. Little Phoenix was not cute at all. Lin Lang, who had bumped into someone, looked at the person on the ground with a pale face and bowed. I'm sorry, immortal sage. She saw that they were still very far away, but for some reason, they suddenly appeared in front of her. She did not have time to stop. It's over, it's over. She had bumped into this demon who disliked her to the ground. Would he strangle her to death? Lin Lang looked at Shi Sheng. This little girl did not seem to be easy to talk to. She would definitely not speak up for her. She was dead meat. You're dead meat. Shi Sheng's gloating voice overlapped with her inner thoughts. Lin Lang wanted to cry, but no tears came out. What did she do wrong? Lu Yin got up from the ground and ignored Lin Lang. He groped around on the ground and pulled out a long spear from the soil. Little Phoenix, look at this. This is something from the immortal realm. Shi Sheng was surprised that Lu Yin did not get angry at Lin Lang. He glanced at the long spear. What's wrong with something from the immortal realm? This is the place where the demons are sealed. It's normal to have things from the immortal realm. Lu Yin stood up with the long spear in his hand. His expression was slightly serious. This was left behind from the battle in the Huang Sea. It can't be here. The Huang Sea? Don't tell me it was the battle when she first arrived? The area where the desolate sea was destroyed was reduced to nothingness. They didn't disappear. Instead, they fell here. Lu Yin paused and began searching on the ground. He found another spear a few steps to the side. Lu Yin was very sure now. This is the desolate sea. Shi Sheng was speechless. Extremely strong spatial pressure and magnetic field would cause spatial distortions, which would lead to the formation of spatial passageways that led to other places. The power she used that time should be able to cause spatial distortion. Amazing. So the problem with the demon race's seal was caused by me? There's nothing to be proud of. Host, you're simply bullying others by casually speeding up the plot. Originally, this Shi Sheng female lead was still learning all kinds of knowledge, but now she had jumped directly to the ending of the plot. Shi Sheng defended himself. I didn't bully anyone. I bullied the male and female leads. She wouldn't bully them while they were still young. Once they grew up, she would have to take her lunchbox and dog with her. I didn't do anything wrong because I didn't want to take the lunchbox with me. Why do you think you were able to trap the male lead last time? The system suddenly threw out a question. Shi Sheng was suspicious. Isn't it because I'm more powerful than him? That's because it's not time for the male lead to come out yet, so you were able to trap him successfully. You sped up the time for them to meet, but it's not time yet, so the rules won't help the male lead. Wait a minute. What do you mean? I sped up the time for them to meet. What did I do? Buttface, I'm telling you, don't blame everything on me. When I get angry, even I'm afraid of myself. Why do you add an O after every sentence? Are you crazy? Eyes willing, so it's none of your business. So, what's the purpose of telling me this? No purpose. I just want to let the host know. The system answered in a methodical manner. Shi Sheng was speechless. Buttface, you've also learned to not follow the rules. You're going to be punished by me. I'm used to it. Shi Sheng was speechless. When Buttface is fearless, he's also quite arrogant. Shi Sheng made a bold guess. Are you trying to tell me that it's almost time for the male lead to come out? The system didn't say anything. It probably went offline. Buttface. The Guzzy? Little Guzzy? Black Guzzy? Shi Sheng couldn't take out his tablet and force himself to go online, so he had to give up. Little Phoenix, what are you thinking about? Shi Sheng looked at the hand that was waving in front of him, and hit it impatiently. I'm thinking about your death. Little Phoenix, why are you so cruel? Lu Yin covered her chest with her hands and took a few steps back. I saved you once. Okay, Little Phoenix, what do you think about this? He was the one who saved her. She didn't appreciate it. Little Phoenix, you won't have any friends like this. I don't think so. She didn't even hear what he said, so why should she think so? Of course, how could she say such a degrading thing out loud? Just as they were having a friendly conversation, the passage had completely disappeared and turned back into a flaming paradise. Jiang Ling and the others didn't appear. Boom. A dull sound came from the sky. Something in the distance was coming towards them at high speed. Rumble. A golden light came down from the sky. Wherever the golden light passed, whether it was the flames or the plants, everything turned to ashes. The most dazzling golden light fell into the depths of the flames. Black smoke rose into the sky like a mushroom cloud. When the golden light touched it, it was annihilated in the air. It was extremely strange. Lu Yun looked in that direction and said in a low voice, "The demon sealing spell has been broken." In the next moment, he laughed coldly as if he was a different person. A cold aura surrounded him. After sacrificing so many people, it still broke in the end. Lu Yun licked his lips and looked at Lin Lang. "Since the spell has been broken, there's no need to keep you alive." Lin Lang's heart beat wildly. "Immortal! Immortal!" Lu Yun approached Lin Lang step by step. "Back then, he forced a part of my soul and a part of my spirit to ensure your loyalty. Now it's time for you to come back. But why are you a woman? This is a little hard to understand." As he spoke, the cold aura around Lu Yun disappeared. It was as if they were hallucinating. Shisheng. This plot doesn't make sense at all. What happened to my side mission? Why did he finish it all by himself? Asterisk, this is a fake group. Little fairy, hey. 1 minute passed, 2 minutes passed. Little fairy. Why isn't anyone talking? 1 minute passed, 2 minutes passed. Little fairy. They're all dead? Pure concubine. They blocked you. Little fairy. What? Cherub traitor. Pure concubine. I'm going to fight for my position. Cherub. Little fairy. Why did you block me? Cherub. Once no date, no ticket, goodbye. Little fairy. Chapter 1166. Lin Lang had a part of Lu Yun's soul in her body. Logically speaking, she should be a man. Why was she a woman? Lu Yun expressed his confusion. However, this did not stop him from retrieving his soul. Immortal? What are you talking about? Lin Lang trembled all over. Why couldn't she understand at all? Lin Lang wanted to retreat, but her legs refused to listen to her. They were so weak that she couldn't move. You don't need to know. Lu Yun reached out and held Lin Lang's forehead. Lin Lang only felt a pair of cold hands on her forehead like a poisonous snake. Her body trembled even more violently. Oh my God! What did she do? She just wanted to live on. Something in her body was being pulled out. The pulling of her soul caused her body to twitch and spasm. Pain spread throughout her body. However, she couldn't make a sound. She could only stare at the man opposite her with wide eyes. His eyes were clearly reflected in her pupils. However, she wasn't in the mood to appreciate his beauty. At this moment, there were only 2 words, cold and painful. The process of extracting the soul wasn't long. Shisheng counted silently. It was only about 10 seconds. Lu Yun moved his hand away from Lin Lang's head. He opened his hand, clenched it, released it, and clenched it again. After repeating this a few times, Lu Yun finally smiled. Little Phoenix, do you know how comfortable it feels to have a complete soul? I've always been complete. Shisheng stared at Lin Lang. She's not dead. Lin Lang's face was covered in cold sweat. Her body swayed as if she was about to fall. However, she stood stubbornly. The depths of her eyes were filled with fear for Lu Yun. She looked very pitiful. Lu Yun looked up at Lin Lang and frowned slightly. Why aren't you dead yet? Lin Lang. How do I know I'm not dead yet? I also wished that I was dead. Lu Yun stepped forward again and grabbed Lin Lang's wrist. His brows gradually furrowed. After a long while he said, "Her soul is complete. It shouldn't be." Lin Lang couldn't take it anymore. She closed her eyes and successfully fainted. Lu Yun was forced to support Lin Lang. He turned to ask Shisheng, "Little Phoenix, why isn't she dead?" Shisheng's lips twitched. "You can just stab her and she'll be dead. How simple." Lu Yun. He knew it was useless to ask her. Lu Yun lowered his head and continued checking Lin Lang's body. There must be something wrong. Shisheng looked into the distance. The black fog was getting thicker and thicker. The golden light was already covered by the black fog. The flames began to extinguish from the inside out. The places where the flames were extinguished were charred black. The iron sword fell from the sky and stabbed straight in front of Shisheng. Lu Yun, who was beside him, was shocked. When he saw what was falling, he calmed down. Shisheng picked up the iron sword and looked around. There was no damage. It seemed that the Xianyuan sword had been destroyed. That's awesome, Wu Lijian. The iron sword. The sword was tired and didn't want to speak. That was the real Xianyuan sword, the real one. Perhaps every Xianxia plane has a genuine copy like this. The genuine copy isn't here at all. What you did is just a pirated copy. Everyone has a responsibility to crack down on piracy. Iron sword. Although I feel that Master is talking nonsense. Master is talking nonsense in such a serious manner that I can't help but believe him. No, it was a pirate itself. How could it fight against piracy? Master, don't raise flags. In such a short time, the flames were all extinguished. The ground began to tremble. The sound of chains being pulled and broken was particularly clear. Countless black shadows rushed out from the ground and formed human silhouettes in the air. An evil aura swallowed up the space. Little Phoenix, let's go. Lu Yun carried Linlang and returned the way they came. Why are you bringing her? It wasn't that Shisheng was talkative. She was surprised that Lu Yun suddenly poked his nose into other people's business. There's something wrong with her. I have to figure it out. Lu Yun quickly answered. There's something wrong with your body too. Little Phoenix. You have to see a doctor when you're sick. You're delaying. Hey Little Phoenix, wait for me. Lu Yun had always been concerned about her body. He always said that there was something wrong with her. But she didn't think there was anything wrong with it. Even if there was, it wouldn't affect her. At most, she could just go offline. As long as she wasn't killed, Shisheng could accept it more easily than drinking water. Probably because they realized that Shisheng and Lu Yun had run away. The demons behind them caught up and attacked without saying a word. However, they couldn't use spiritual power, and could only rely on themselves. Shisheng was fine. After all, he still had the ability of the iron sword. If he really couldn't do it, he could still throw energy balls. Killing demons was a piece of cake. The demons were easy to deal with, but the natural disasters weren't so easy to deal with. When they had already moved to the periphery, the mountain range behind them suddenly began to sink. More and more black shadows emerged from the bottom. Demons could be seen everywhere. Ah! A person suddenly fell in front of Shisheng. Or rather, it wasn't a person. It was a demon. He screamed as he fell to the ground. Before he could get up, he was grabbed into the air by a demon beside him. A few demons instantly ate him. Blood sprinkled down from the sky. The ground was red, and the smell of blood drifted in every corner. Shisheng. So cruel. So scary. I'm scared to death. I should quickly kill a few demons to calm myself down. More and more demons fell from above. Most of them were eaten by demons before they could even see where they were. Some of the more powerful ones could avoid the demons' attacks and quickly form a small team. Although they didn't know what was going on, only killing could save them now. Perhaps because Shisheng had frightened the demons just now. There weren't many demons around her. Most of them were knocked over by their own kind. Shisheng occasionally swung his sword, and every strike was sure to hit its target. The little girl was calm and collected. Her expression was calm, as if she wasn't in a chaotic and bloody battlefield. Instead, she was in a dazzling golden palace full of kneeling courtiers, waiting to be worshipped by the people. Seeing this, the group of demonic beasts were shocked. They were all in the same boat, but they leaned toward Shisheng. Most importantly, they felt that she was very powerful. Shisheng saw them coming toward her, so she immediately went to the place where the demons were gathered. The demons acted as if they had seen something dirty. They all retreated in unison, leaving a large empty space for her. Shisheng. How could you do this? The demons were even more excited when they saw this. They quickly rushed into the safe zone. However, Shisheng quickly retreated. The safe zone changed as she moved, and the demons could only chase after her. Shisheng shook off those people and walked to the exit alone. Lu Yin had long separated from her, and she didn't know where he went. The black shadow above her head rushed forward. The stronger ones could sense the evil aura from her, and took the initiative to avoid her. However, most of the demons were idiots. They didn't have eyes and bumped into her sword. Shisheng killed all the way and finally reached the valley. At this time, there weren't many demons that had fallen in, but from the number of demons that had fallen just now, it was likely that all the creatures in Devil City had been gathered here. There were many demon corpses in the valley. She didn't know if there was a problem with the valley, or if someone had set something up, but there were much fewer demons in the valley than outside. At the edge of the valley, a group of people was killing demons. # daily begging for monthly votes #. Chapter 1167. By the time Shisheng arrived, the group of people had already finished killing the demons. But for some reason, a conflict broke out in the group and several people were chased out. "You're shameless!" Someone outside shouted unwillingly. A burly man inside mocked. "We're shameless, but what's the difference between you and us? Weren't you very arrogant when you relied on Qi Li's support? Why aren't you arrogant now? That little girl must have died a long time ago, right? Sorry to disappoint you, but I'm not dead." A slightly childish voice sounded from the side. The voice was calm and monotonous. The young girl stood on a protruding rock at the side, a faint smile on her young but delicate face. A silent wind blew past, and her skirt fluttered in the wind. The fiery red phoenix seemed to want to fly out of her skirt and soar into the sky, crying out to heaven and earth. "Miss Qi Li?" The people standing outside were pleasantly surprised. Compared to their surprise, the burly man who had mocked her just now had an ugly expression. A thin and dark figure jumped out from the group of people who had been chased out. "Miss Qi Li." It was the young man from before. This person helped her manage a group of little demons. She naturally remembered that he could be considered one of her people. Shisheng waved his hand. "Come here." The young man immediately smiled and called for the others to trot over to Shisheng. "Are you okay?" Shisheng nodded slightly and glanced at the burly man who didn't look too good. "What happened?" The young man immediately told Shisheng the whole story. When they fell in, they happened to be in this valley. At that time, there were no demons in the valley. They only discovered the demons after they went out. Because there were no demons in the valley, they retreated. Then they met the burly man and his group who had fallen into the valley like them. Perhaps because there were more demons, the smell became stronger. The demons gradually came to the valley. At first, there were only a few demons. They worked together to kill them, but later, there were more and more. Later, his people found something in the valley. With that thing, the demons didn't seem to see them. Even if they walked past them, they wouldn't attack them. But just now, the number of demons suddenly increased. That thing seemed to be unable to stop so many demons. Some of them were discovered. Since they had been exposed, they had no choice but to kill them. What happened next was what Shisheng had seen earlier. The brawny man had chased them away and snatched the item away. Shisheng looked in the direction of the young man's finger and saw something that looked like a turtle shell hanging on the man's waist. It had traces of polishing and gave off an evil aura. It probably didn't belong to the Protoss. It was not surprising that the demon race had dropped their demonic tools outside when they were sealed. Because it belonged to the devil race, the devil race did not attack them. "Qi Li. Miss Qi Li." The burly man had been very confident when he hadn't seen Shisheng, but when he saw her, he began to tremble. He handed the item over with trembling hands. "I was just joking. I didn't mean anything else." "Bah." The young man retorted bluntly. "Your joke is forcing us to our deaths. Can we joke with you too?" The burly man braced himself and explained. "It's a misunderstanding, it's all a misunderstanding." The next moment, the burly man's eyes widened in disbelief. "You talk too much." Shisheng withdrew his iron sword and walked into the valley. The people behind the burly man turned and ran. When they were a certain distance away from the burly man, the devil race that had been hovering around the area swarmed forward. Screams rang out in the valley. The young man and the others followed behind Shisheng. No one sympathized with them because they had brought this upon themselves. However, Miss Chi seemed to have become more powerful. What should they do? They admired Miss Chi even more. After leaving the valley and returning to the surface, Shisheng saw the same tragic scene. The devil race had already arrived at Devil Town. Shisheng returned to the place where she had stayed before. There were many demon beasts huddled there. When they saw them return, it was as if they had seen their biological father. Shisheng had stuck a talisman here. It was probably because of the talisman paper that they had not been swept down. Miss Chi, there are demons outside. They covered the sky and the sun. It was scary just looking at them. Shisheng stood by the window and took a look. How many of us are there? More than 100. Shisheng rummaged through the space and somehow found a big thing that had been thrown into a corner. This thing should still be usable, right? Let's give it a try. Shisheng walked to the open space and released the big thing. Everyone's vision darkened, and the sound of buildings collapsing filled their ears. A round metal thing appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Miss Chi, what kind of Dharma artifact is this? It's so big. The young man looked up at the huge object in front of him, and could not hide his surprise. It's so big. I've never seen such a thing. I've never seen such a thing either. Miss Chi, what is this thing? The visual impact of this new thing was huge. It's a spaceship. Shisheng touched his chin and said, how is this big? An aircraft carrier is big. A spaceship? Can it fly in the sky? What's an aircraft carrier? Miss Chi's words were so strange. Nonsense. Otherwise, why would it be called a spaceship? Shisheng rolled his eyes at the young man, and answered only one question. Even if she answered the latter question, they would not understand. Host, this spaceship belongs to the Special Forces of the Interstellar Alliance. May I ask, where are you from? There was no way it would mistake that symbol. There were only two uses for the Special Forces of the Interstellar Alliance. Either it was used by the Special Forces or it was destroyed. It would never appear anywhere else. Shisheng rolled his eyes. I stole it. Why would I make one? Host, what level are you on the Interstellar Alliance's blacklist? It was not surprising that the host stole a spaceship. However, she stole a spaceship from the Special Forces of the Interstellar Alliance. She should at least be on the SSS level blacklist, right? Shisheng sneered. Guess. You want to analyze I's identity? Dream on. Guess my ass. Shisheng ignored the system and walked to the cabin door. Perhaps it had not been opened for a long time, but the door was tightly shut. Shisheng knocked on it a few times before he pried it open. The people behind him were like Granny Lu entering the Grandview Garden. The cabin was very clean. Shisheng checked it and found that everything was normal. It was just that there was not much energy left. However, it should not be a problem to fly around. I'll take you flying. Shisheng stood on the highest platform of the spaceship's control room and quickly activated the various functions of the spaceship. The others were already stunned. They could not imagine these things at all. Is the cabin door closed? Shisheng suddenly looked up and asked the young man. The young man shook his head stupidly. He was full of questions. What was the cabin door? Was it the thing she opened just now? How did she close it? Shisheng lowered his head to control it for a while, and found that he could not close it. He had to close it himself. Shisheng stuck a defensive talisman on it. The demons outside could not enter. She looked at the demons who kept hitting the spaceship and silently gave them the middle finger. The demons were despised and hit the spaceship even harder. Shisheng was about to close the cabin door when Lu Yin rushed out from the left and went straight to the spaceship. Chapter 1168. When he reached the cabin door, Lu Yin crashed into the transparent barrier. His entire body, along with Lin Lang, was sent flying and fell onto the roof behind him. Little Phoenix. Lu Yin shouted at Shisheng in exasperation. Shisheng. Are you blaming me? How would I know that you would suddenly rush out? King retard. Lu Yin jumped down from the house with Lin Lang and rushed towards the spaceship again. This time he didn't barge in recklessly. Instead he reached out to touch it. When he touched the door he felt a tingling sensation. Then he felt a strong push. Lu Yun quickly retracted his hand. Little Phoenix, let me up. Haven't you recovered your strength? Fly back yourself. Shisheng's smile was evil no matter how one looked at it. It made one want to beat him up. And Lu Yun really wanted to beat him up. Shisheng pulled the valve, and the cabin door closed with some difficulty. Lu Yun's face was gradually blocked. When the cabin door finally closed, Shisheng seemed to see Jiang Ling rush out with his men. Shisheng returned to the control room. In the surveillance camera, he saw Jiang Ling and Lu Yun standing together. The female lead was actually still alive. Shisheng pursed his lips and started the spaceship. The huge object suddenly began to move, and the surrounding devils were frightened and retreated one after another. They also did not know what this ice-cold disc was. Most of the devils were curious, and a small number of them wanted to eat the demon beasts inside. Shisheng only raised the spaceship and had no intention of leaving. The demons watched for a while. Perhaps they felt that their teeth weren't that good and couldn't bite through this large disc Dharma artifact, so they attacked Jiang Ling and the others below. Shisheng sat on a chair. The scene below was projected into the air. Miss Qili? This Dharma artifact is so powerful. Not only could it carry people, but it could also see the scene outside. It was more powerful than any Dharma artifact he had ever heard of. This must be a divine artifact. Shisheng. Dharma artifact my ass. Forget it, I won't argue with them. Shisheng told him what not to touch. Halfway through, she stood up and stuck talismans on the places that were not to be touched. Then, she left them to play by themselves. The spaceship wasn't too big. It could only be considered a medium-sized spaceship. However, it was enough for these little fairies who hadn't seen the world. Because Jiang Ling was carrying the burden of the female lead Darren, and didn't have the Xianyuan sword with him, he was attacked by the demons several times. Lu Yun, that scum, definitely wouldn't help them. He took the opportunity to run away with Lin Lang. Before he left, he even gave Shisheng the middle finger. He had learned this gesture from Shisheng. He didn't know what it meant, but every time Shisheng did it, all he saw was disdain. Jiang Ling must have known that the thing hanging in the sky belonged to Shisheng. He tried to get closer to the spaceship several times, but he gave up only when Shisheng rose the spaceship to a higher altitude. Jiang Ling and the others were trapped there. Shisheng was woken up by Yao Qin's shout in the middle of the night. Celestial supremacy, leave quickly. She turned the light up a little and looked at the scene on the screen. Jiang Ling was injured. The wound was on his chest, and it was emitting waves of black gas. It wasn't the kind of special effects. Only 2 of the people he had brought with him were left, but they were both in a half-dead state. Only Yao Qin was in perfect condition. Take little Yao away. Jiang Ling pushed Yao Qin to the other 2. Celestial supremacy. Let's go. The other 2 set up Yao Qin. After Jiang Ling attracted the attention of the demons, they quickly rushed out. However, Yao Qin was unwilling. She kept struggling to go back. No matter what the 2 said, Yao Qin wouldn't stop. The 2 of them were worried about Jiang Ling, so they rushed back again. If they were a step later, Jiang Ling would probably be dismembered by the demons. Yao Qin pounced to Jiang Ling's side. She used the broken blade on the ground to cut open her wrist and fed it to Jiang Ling. Not only was Yao Qin's blood great for demons, but it was also great for gods, who asked her to be born at the beginning of the world. All the demons seemed to be coming this way. A panicked voice resounded through the night. Yao Qin was shocked. She quickly covered her wrist to stop the bleeding. Demons were very sensitive to blood. Jiang Ling drank the blood and recovered some strength. He risked his life to bring her out. The other 2 gods didn't escape. This was something that couldn't be helped. If they wanted to break out, there would definitely be sacrifices. Jiang Ling didn't have time to remember them. He took Yao Qin and escaped. Once he shook off the demons, Jiang Ling fell unconscious. With Yao Qin as a milk bottle, Jiang Ling didn't die. However, the power in her blood was very pure. Jiang Ling's body was weak and couldn't digest it, so he didn't wake up. Yao Qin kept feeding him. If she kept feeding him, he would explode and die. Yao Qin brought Jiang Ling to hide from the demons that were rushing out. This became a problem. Shisheng kept following them. Yao Qin would occasionally look up. One day, she finally couldn't take it anymore. She climbed up a slope and shouted at the spaceship. Chili Immortal Lord, I know you're in there. Please save the Immortal Lord. Chili Immortal Lord, the Immortal Lord was so good to you in the God realm. Why didn't you save him? How can you be so cold-blooded? The Immortal Lord was so good to you. Why didn't you save him? Yao Qin shouted hysterically on the slope. However, no one responded to her. The disc hung in the air. It didn't even move. It was like it was silently mocking her. On the spaceship, Shisheng held his chin and looked at the projection expressionlessly. Why did she have to save Jiangling? She never asked Jiangling to be good to her. Since it was one-sided, why should she respond? Moreover, he wasn't good to her. It was the original owner. The original owner's last wishes didn't include this. As a player, she had to do her job well and not cause trouble. This was the best strategy to play to the end. Besides, she didn't even bring Lu Yun, let alone Jiangling. She was cold-blooded and willful. If she didn't like it, she would hold it in. Yao Qin looked down at Jiangling with disappointment and softened her voice. Immortal Lord Chili, if there comes a day when you need someone to lend you a helping hand, but no one is willing to lend you a helping hand, you will experience that despair. Shisheng. The word despair was no longer in her dictionary. She never had hope in anyone. How could she feel despair? When you have hope, you will be disappointed. After disappointment, there will be despair. And despair will push you into the abyss. It was better not to have this kind of thing. She just needed to set her goal and accomplish it. Yao Qin stood silently for a while. Maybe it was because she shouted too loudly and attracted the wandering demons. Yao Qin could only drag Jiangling to find a place to hide. The demons were too scattered. They couldn't find Yao Qin. Just when Yao Qin thought she had avoided a disaster, a large group of demons suddenly surged over. They almost occupied half the sky. They moved very quickly. In the blink of an eye, they were in front of her. #hashtag today. Please buy tickets for the Taste of Trumpet Flowers #begging for recommendation tickets on Monday. Begging for monthly votes. #hashtag let me say something here. My cute cherub, don't go to other books and talk about me, Sheng. If you like it, you have to find the right way. It's easy to attract hate. I'm also an author. I don't like readers to talk about other books under my book reviews. If you like it under this book's review, it's fine. Love you guys. Chapter 1169. Yao Qin was probably frightened. She only regained her senses when the demons were right in front of her. She dragged Jiangling to a more secluded place to hide. Maybe the demons were too stupid, or maybe it was the protagonist's aura, but the two of them were not discovered. Yao Qin covered her mouth and nose, nervously watching the demons pass by. All the demons were about to pass by. Boom! Yao Qin's vision suddenly darkened. The rocks behind her started to fall. Something fell and splashed on her face, quickly wiping away the blood. The unique fragrance attracted the demons in the sky. They stopped at the same time and looked in Yao Qin's direction. Yao Qin froze. She slowly raised her head to look at the sky. Behind the demons, there was a girl in a black dress. Yao Qin's eyes widened. It was her. Why? Why did she have to kill them? She had never offended her. Why did she hate her so much? Would she only be happy when she saw her die? She didn't even hesitate to kill Ling Xianzun, who treated her so well. How could her heart be so evil? Yao Qin's vision was gradually blocked by the demons. She could not see the person in the sky, but she knew that she was there. She was there, watching. Shisheng did not stay any longer. The female lead was probably going to break down even more. As long as she broke down, it would be easier to deal with her in the future. Shisheng piloted the flying ship back to the heavenly realm in a domineering fashion, amidst all sorts of surprised, shocked, and strange gazes. The heavenly soldiers guarding the gate almost went crazy when they saw such a huge thing. Shisheng drove the flying ship back to Southwu Mountain and parked it outside. The immortal emperor heard the news of her return and personally came to look for her. The immortal emperor was shocked when he saw the huge thing, but he had more important things to do now, so he chose to ignore it. Qili, where's Jiangling? Shi Sheng was coming down from the flying ship. Hearing the immortal emperor's question, he calmly glanced at the immortal emperor. How would I know? I wasn't with him. The immortal emperor frowned. What was he talking about? You didn't go together? Shi Sheng rolled his eyes. His words were sarcastic. Can't you guys come back separately? Am I his pendant? Do I have to be with him? The immortal emperor. He didn't say anything. Was there a need to be so agitated? The immortal emperor moved his lips and suppressed the anger in his heart. Is Luyan with you? They're dead. Shi Sheng walked out of the airship and asked the young man to bring the other beasts down. The young man was clearly a little uneasy. This was the God realm. The young man did not dare to disobey the Shi Sheng. After a moment of hesitation, he called the monsters behind him to follow him down. All of them tried to pretend to be calm, but their stiff expressions and bodies betrayed their feelings at this time. Excitement, complexity, apprehension, fear, all kinds of emotions intertwined, making them feel very panicked. A large group of demonic beasts came down. The immortal emperor's eyes widened. Qili, what did you bring back? Shi Sheng was speechless. He didn't understand these people in the sky. They knew what it was, but they still had to ask if there was a cat biscuit. Less nonsense and more action could save a lot of time. Qili. Shi Sheng ignored him. The immortal emperor was furious. Do you still respect me, the immortal emperor? Shi Sheng turned around and smiled evilly. Never. The immortal emperor. Shi Sheng's rebellious words would have been dragged out of the immortal punishment platform and killed if it were anyone else. Qili, the situation is urgent now. Don't throw a tantrum. Where are Jiangling and Luyan? The immortal emperor's expression was cold. The aura around him suddenly became strong, and the air seemed to freeze. The demonic beasts were already panicking. After being frightened by the immortal emperor, some of them directly knelt on the ground and trembled. Shi Sheng glanced at them and gestured at the young man with his chin. Bring them in. The young man's face was a little pale, but he could barely hold on. He hurriedly asked the demonic beasts who were still standing to help all the demonic beasts into the boundary with the parasol tree as the boundary. As soon as they entered the boundary, the pressure on them disappeared, leaving only a gentle and comfortable spirit Qi. When the immortal emperor saw that Shi Sheng was ignoring him, his aura became even fiercer. His deep voice pierced through the eardrums. Qili, because you are the only phoenix in this world, I turned a blind eye to what you did before. Don't think that I can't do anything to you. What can you do to me? Shi Sheng smiled provocatively. Do you have to go against me? Shi Sheng spread his hands innocently. Immortal Emperor, when have I ever gone against you? I answered your question, didn't I? You don't believe me and force me to answer you. What can I do? I'm also in despair. I really don't know where Luyan and Jiangling are. You don't believe me and even say that I'm going against you. You're King retarded. I'll ask you one last time. Where are Luyan and Jiangling? The immortal emperor clearly still didn't believe Shi Sheng. Shi Sheng's eyes were filled with coldness. I'll answer you one last time. I don't know. The immortal emperor's face was gloomy. Suddenly, he took out an item from his pocket. Shi Sheng raised his eyebrows slightly. He drew his iron sword and quickly attacked. The immortal emperor's heavenly soldiers immediately stepped forward to block him. Shi Sheng waved them away. Before the immortal emperor could use the item, he flicked it out of his hand. The item was flung into the air and fell in a parabola. Shi Sheng jumped slightly and accurately caught the item. The immortal emperor. Shi Sheng held the small jade bottle in his hand and looked at it. What is this? The immortal emperor didn't answer. He suddenly raised his hand and waved his bright yellow sleeve. A white powder came flying toward Shi Sheng. Shi Sheng reflexively held his breath and waved his iron sword. The white and pink powder was all deflected by the sword Qi and covered the immortal emperor's face. Shi Sheng quickly returned to Southwu Mountain. He sneered and threw away the bottle in his hand. Even the immortal emperor knows how to play tricks. What happened to light, justice, civilization, harmony, freedom, equality, justice, the rule of law, patriotism, professionalism, honesty, and friendliness. Wait a minute. Something strange seemed to have been mixed in. Forget it. Who cares? The immortal emperor touched his face. The powder was only effective against phoenixes. It was useless against others. He looked at Shisheng, who was standing inside, and waved his hand. Capture her. She had repeatedly challenged his bottom line. Did she really think that he was afraid of her? As the immortal emperor, would he allow her to do as she pleased in the divine realm? The answer was of course no. However, the immortal emperor was soon slapped in the face. His men couldn't even take half a step into Southwu Mountain. He knew that there was a barrier around Southwu Mountain. He had thought that it was just an ordinary barrier. But now he realized that it wasn't an ordinary barrier at all. The immortal emperor ordered his men to summon the other divine tribes. He had to get Shisheng out today. He wanted her to know who was the true ruler of the divine realm. You're tuning into the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.